All right, we're all here. JT was early tonight, eating Chipotle, getting ready for the show. Eric just jumped on, and every time, I don't know, it never fails. Every time I jump on and turn there must be something in these headphones that you put a frog in my throat every time I start talking. I don't know what it is, but it's the way it goes sometimes. I don't know. I clear my throat for a half hour before the show starts, and then I get a froggy. But welcome to the Commissioner Evaluation Show. My McGlynn is in. Let the fun begin. Justin Taylor at JT Orange and myself will have a lot of fun tonight with our guest Eric Vanek at Eric Vanek NFL. So today we'll talk to Eric about some of the settings he prefers and leagues he plays in, things he would do like his commissioner to do, news, injuries, waiver advice. As usual, we'll evaluate a team to see what Eric and Justin recommend to either rebuild or remodel the roster. So what we are going to do today is start off with myself telling about my proud dad moment. I have a daughter who got a full academic and athletic scholarship to University of St. Ambrose in Davenport, Iowa. So I'm off the hook for college for one of them. So that's pretty nice.
Very nice. That's very nice. Can't beat that.
Yeah, my youngest of 4. So she's I got, like I said, I got 2 were in college and 2 that did other things non-college related. So this is I'm kind of getting off the snide here pretty easy with these kids. So and then so I took a day off work to chill with my fellow home league like Nick Scripp and a couple other guys that we're in leagues with. Sat around Sunday watching football all day long. Monday I had people over my garage just kind of drinking some beers, having a good time. I like when I had these. I have a 4-on 4-off schedule, so sometimes like a month and a half I'm doing the weekend thing, and then a month and a half I'm off for a weekend. So it's pretty nice when it falls where I had the weekends off. I had to use a Sunday vacation day, but I don't really care. That's what vacation days are for, man. Football is football, so it's it. Anything new with you, JT?
Oh, I was talking about that. I always laugh. All my friends have all these leagues their kids play on Sundays. I said, what happened to God in football? He's like, at church, and then you went home and watched football. You couldn't do sports or other athletic events or school stuff on Sundays. All my friends are like, dude, love to come over. Got to go to a soccer tournament. I'm like, this is insanity. I was like, I can't do it. So I'm definitely going to have to sign out on any league that my son wants to play in on Sundays during football season. Not going to happen.
Queen of the Universe Cobras. That was our grammar school. We had to be in church for 9:00 mass on Sunday, and if you weren't at church, you didn't play in the game. That was how it worked every Sunday. So we had to be there with your uniform on the front row, and that's Catholic school for you right there. That's I went to Brother Rice High School. That's there was no church mandates there, but we did have church every Thursday, so it was all good stuff. How about you? Tell me a little about yourself, Eric. What do you got going on? Like, where can people find you on Twitter? What do you do in the fantasy football community? What's new in life? Tell me all that stuff.
Yeah, you can find me at Eric Vanek NFL on Twitter. And me and my partner, Scott Connor, we do a podcast on Destination Devi. That's where I'm working right now. And we do a podcast on Saturdays called America's Game. And we pretty much just go over anything NFL wise, college wise. We've been breaking down a lot of trades, what to do with players lately, going over a little bit of the college stuff, and then a little bit of the warp data that we've been putting out as well. So we've been doing a lot of that. And I'm like Scott, I'm like in the 40, 50 different leagues. So I'm managing a lot of leagues too. So it takes a lot of time, especially like tonight was waiver night. It usually takes me about 3 hours to really go through waivers and do all that.
Yep, that's how it works. I just got done with all my waiver stuff now too. I had a couple trades. We'll talk about them later in the show, but I'm super happy about them. But before we talk about that, tell me about this warp stuff because it's really starting to interest me. I hear it more and more, and Jordan McNamara was talking about it before, and Scott talks about it, and I heard you guys talk about it on the show, which I love your show, by the way, just so you know. Like, I've been listening probably since day one, so it's you and Scott are perfect. I mean, that's a perfect tandem on that show. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, me and Scott have known each other for I think I was in elementary school, so it's been a while that we've known each other. So that's probably why we have such a good chemistry. But warp is really like I'll give you like the baseball definition of it. It's kind of the same thing. They use WAR, which is wins above replacement. Warp is wins over replacement. It's basically the same thing. But warp just measures a player's value in all facets of the game. What he's worth more than a replacement level player at the same position. So fantasy terms, it's for like fantasy points. Like I could pull up a few of the data points, but like right now, Cooper Cup's like a 3.1 replacement over like just an average wide receiver. He's going to give you 3 extra wins above a replacement player. So like Cooper Cup is just like one of the main guys to have. I think Josh Allen's at like a 4.3 right now in our data. So yeah, there's a lot of like really crazy numbers that are going on right now. It's really interesting to really go over. Pulling it up here now.
The only thing I saw about that was how those numbers are it's so tight. Like the best player in the league is a 4,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like there's guys who are just average that are like a 1.5 or a 1. There's such a small differential between the best player and like just an average guy. So how does Warp like help that much to determine who's better? It seems like there's one big clump in the middle of all the Warp players.
Yeah, so like if you look at like right now, like the number 1 running back is Austin Eckler at 3.18. And if you have him on your teams, you're getting like a 63.5 win percentage every single week if you have him on your team.
Okay.
If you look at number 12, so from 3.18 as Eckler's WAR to 12, which is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's a 0.65. So that's a massive difference between those two. So if there's a Jordan McNamara put out a chart. I'd have to pull up the tweet, but there's a chart of plotting each point on the chart of where the guys place in final standings. So like usually the first place guy, he's going to be like at like a 2 or 3, whatever it is. And if you go down and look at like number 12, you really see that it's like a 0.6, usually 0.5, somewhere in there. So they give you a little bit of a difference above a replacement player. It's just kind of showing you at like each position, like the top 12 running backs are the only ones that are really giving you that advantage. After that, they're all the same. Quarterbacks, kind of the same thing. Like the top 8 quarterbacks give you a little bit of an advantage. And then after that, it kind of drops off and they're all the same. Wide receivers, it's like the first 30 or so give you a little bit of an advantage. And then after that, they all level off. So it kind of gives you an idea of how to build your teams. Like, you don't really want to go running back heavy. You have your couple guys like Eckler, your Barkleys, your Chubbs right now, McCaffrey, that are just smashing it right now. And if you have those guys, obviously you're winning. But if you have a bunch of these, other guys that have fallen out of it, like Najee Harris is 24th. He's at an even warp right now. He's just absolutely killing you. If you took Najee Harris in the first round, but I can start Jamal Williams, who I got in the 12th round, and he is beating him right now in warp.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a way to look at it with the running backs right now of like, man, they really just don't matter. Like there's only a few that really matter and the rest don't.
I got super lucky. I got super, super lucky because I was told, I'm like, there's this guy in the Raiders that every year, I don't like him. I don't like the Raiders at all. I hate the team. You're a fantasy guy, but you're kind of like at the same team. You want to like your team. I'm not sure how you are. If you're in that 50-60 league kind of thing, you're probably just going for just what you want to do. But Josh Jacobs, all of a sudden this year is going nuts. And I was literally going to give him away for peanuts. I gave away Miles Sanders for a 3rd-round pick in our rookie draft. And I was going to do almost kind of the same thing for Josh Jacobs. And I'm like, right now I'm thanking my lucky stars that I held on to him because it's absolutely amazing. And I don't know, is that somebody I should sell right now? And this has got to be his peak value you have to you want to win this year or you want to sell and try and build it for next year too? What would you guys do if you had Josh Jacobs in your rosters right now? Go ahead.
I mean, I was just say for me, if I'm contending, I'm keeping Josh Jacobs. If I am at all in the middle, I'm selling him because again, you're going to get the most you can for him right now. It's just you're not going to get a higher value than right now for him. So again, if I'm competing, I got to keep those points. I got to keep him on my roster. But if I have any doubt that I'm not going to have a shot at it, I'm selling him as soon as I can. I wish I had a ton more of them. Of course, I've got him on one of my 25 teams, and the one team I have him in is like a rebuild 2 years out mode. And so it's like, I'm like, if I could get somebody to give me something really good for him, I would sell right now. But it's like right now, I just can't get enough guys, anybody to really break in and give me a good deal for him. I'm hoping as we get later in the playoffs and more of these injuries pile up that I'm going to be able to sell him. Like I said, I wish I had him in more leagues, but that's all I've got right now.
Eric, the thing is, everybody that's in Dynasty already knows that his is probably his peak value, and they're not going to pay 3 firsts for a guy like that who's going to probably have one more good year if he doesn't get hurt this year, kind of thing. So, what would you do, Eric?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything Justin said there. If you're a rebuilding team, I think you got to sell them. If you're in first or second right now and you're making the run for it, that's a good guy to have. Like right now, he's fourth in the warp chart, so he's definitely making a pretty big difference for you. So I think you got to go for it. And I think a lot of it with Jacobs right now has to do that he's playing for money. He's playing for that new contract, so he's motivated. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to pussyfoot around with these injuries and stuff that these other guys are having. So he's going out there to earn his paycheck. So that's a good guy to have, a motivated Jacobs. So if you're on a winning team, I think you got to keep him right now. But if you're in the middle or tanking, yeah, you got to sell him.
Yeah, I'm like, when you're like the number like 3 to 5, kind of like right in there, you're like, man, I see there's a couple of teams that are like, as long as it takes you to win your division and get into get maybe the first round bye in the playoffs, or even play some fish in the playoffs, and then in the first round and get yourself the second round and have people go hot. I mean, I write it there right now where I need a little bit of help from some guys, and it's like, it's so tempting to, give me a couple first and two, give me a first, couple seconds, give me 2 first, 2 seconds, whatever. But nobody's going to pay that. And if they do it, they're probably, they're contending 2 when you're looking at a 12 and a 12, or 12 and a 24. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting on that 2-3 weeks, the next 2-3 weeks, see if a couple teams are on that verge that have Jacobs fall off and are looking to get rid of him for a little bit cheaper than they would now. Because I've got a couple teams that I've already traded a lot of early picks for. I don't got a lot left. I'm trying to win now. If I could sneak him away from somebody that kind of gets desperate, that's what I'd like to do in a handful of my leagues if I can.
Yeah. Tell me about a day in the life of one Eric Vanek. Like, what do you do for a living? What's going on? Like, are you mainly into fantasy football and that's it, or you got other stuff going on?
Yeah, no, right now it's pretty much just fantasy football and all that. Obviously have a job working every single day. Just a manager at a local store here, nothing too crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty much fantasy football. I'm keeping up with the content, making content, doing podcasts with Scott. I do a couple articles for Destination Devi as well, so working on that behind the scenes. We do a lot of mock draft data for college stuff, so we're getting ahead of that, getting ahead on these players. Just keeping up with that, and then obviously other sports too. I'm a big sports guy, so I'm watching hockey right now. Auto racing I'm big into as well, watching all the football and college football that I can. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I wish I couldn't get in a fantasy hockey league this year. It's my second favorite sport.
John, I got to get you in my league. John, I'll get you in my league, man. I got a few. You got to jump in. I've got my Red Wings shirt on right now, actually, with the Red Wings game on in front of me. So
that's what I have on too. That's my team.
We will. Nice. I knew I liked you. So yeah, we'll get you in a hockey league, John. I got 2 of them. I got one's a keeper, pretty mellow, and I got a big time dynasty salary cap hockey league that's legit. If you really like hockey, it's pretty awesome.
I'm never wearing any of that Red Wings shit you guys got on here right now, so don't think about not the Blackhawks stuff here, okay?
Hey, John, I got my Blackhawks neon behind me. All my friends are Blackhawks fans. I'm from Illinois, but my mom's family are all diehard Red Wings fan, all from Detroit. I don't think my dad's family knew what hockey was growing up, so none of them even knew what the Blackhawks were.
Yeah, my buddy Tom Roger played hockey all through grammar school, so we were kind of familiar with just going to his games and stuff. So I kind of not like grew up with it, but it was always around. So. Eric, what's your favorite Sunday afternoon munching food when you're glued to the TV watching Scott Hansen on the Red Zone?
Oh man, I'm a chip guy. I like chips. Just something simple, man. Nothing crazy. Like if I had to actually have actual food, like chicken wings. Obviously, chicken wings are really good, but expensive as fuck right now.
Yeah, everything's expensive. We went to this place called Anthony's. I met Nick Scripp and a couple other guys there, and it was. By the end of the night, we're like, let's get something. Like, oh shit! Look at even like a taco platter or something, like not even like a nacho platter, whatever you call them, like the chips with the stuff mixed in there. it's like holy cow! This everything going out to eat now is absolutely ridiculous everywhere. It's
Yeah,
so expensive.
you gotta take a loan out just to go eat.
Yeah, I complained about the food as I ran up a $200 bar bill.
Hey, try being like me and owning a restaurant. The loans I gotta take out just to buy the food to sell to you guys is ridiculous. Yeah, my weekly food cost is insanity.
Eric, what was your favorite hobby before you got into fantasy football? What did you do, like card collecting or like something like that? Did you ever have a hobby before this?
Yeah, I do have card collecting. I still do it here and there. I've kind of slowed down, but I've been in that pretty much my whole life. Done a lot of that, and mainly just my hobbies are sports. I do a little bit of video gaming as well on the computer, or used to do a lot on PlayStation back in the day, but I don't really do the PlayStation anymore. I really do just like computer gaming and stuff. But that's really it. Nothing too crazy.
I would play Madden. Like I would do the thing
Yep.
where you do the franchise mode, and I would go through all the offensive linemen and running backs, wide receivers, and look at their traits. And I'd chart everything and see like who ran the fastest, which offensive lineman had the best. They didn't know that much right now, but they had better pass blocking skills, better run blocking skills, and I would like chart that stuff and do a fantasy team. And I couldn't draft anybody who was older. Anybody from 18 to 21 was the only people I could draft on my team in the draft. So, and then by the end of year one, I was winning the Super Bowl. But that was before like online gaming now, so
Yeah.
but I mean I would play this game and I would do the hit stick and I like broke like 5 controllers like going nuts on the hit stick and stuff, and I'm like, all right, I gotta stop playing this now because I'm getting too old, and if I'm breaking joysticks every week, that something's wrong with me. What is where do you see yourself in 5 years in the fantasy community?
Man, that's a good question. I'm hoping just to stay here with Destination Devi right now. I'm loving it here. I love all the guys that work over there with me. Ray Garvin's a great dude, man. He's blowing up in the space right now, and just excited that I'm a part of his team. We're going to be starting a website here soon with a whole bunch of new content coming out for that. I'll still be doing podcasts with Scott, I'm sure. I'm just going to be kind of just doing my thing, man. Hopefully I'm not looking to like make millions of dollars or anything off of this or get on TV or anything like that. Like if it happens, it happens. But, I'm just kind of just doing my thing and just see where it goes. Don't really have too many plans, I guess.
Isn't it cool just to kind of do this for fun? Like, not
Yeah.
like I don't, I'm too like, I don't know if I got too much anxiety or I'm just, first of all, I don't know how to type. So it takes me 5 years to type something out that takes everybody else like 32 seconds, and then I don't know how to use Google Sheets that well. Like I can't trend things like I wanted to. And it's like, man, I see these kids coming up nowadays and they're just like, oh, I put 17 pages of spreadsheets together and I averaged them and I put them in green, red, and yellow. And I did this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that would have took me until I was 72 to do that. Like I know what I want to do, but I just can't do it. It's terrible,
Right.
It's like when you get too old to play sports and you can't watch these little kids run. I was faster than that guy, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
You get, if you got one chance to spend 2 minutes with your 18-year-old self on your high school graduation day, what would you say to yourself?
Man, just save money. That's pretty much the big thing. Save as much money as you can. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Save money.
Save money. It's not. Listen, I got 4 kids, and no matter how much you save, it just goes out the window anyway. There's always something going on. There's sports, and then there's clothes, and then there's pets, and then there's stuff with the house that breaks all the time. And you could just when you're like, yes. I mean, I was an electrician my whole life, and literally, I was like, as soon as I made tons of overtime, I'm like, this is great. We're like, all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get rid of this 27-inch TV. We're gonna go buy like a 46-inch TV to put in the front room now, and then I get laid off for a month, and I'm like, oh shit, what's the cheapest bologna we can buy just to feed these kids next week? It's never, no matter what you do, you're never gonna have enough money, So I wouldn't worry. I mean, yeah, you need money to pay the bills and stuff like that, but you're never gonna have enough, man. Even if you're a millionaire, those guys still don't have enough,
Yeah, it's like when you get your tax return and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna buy this big new TV, and then you need new tires for your car or something.
Exactly.
It's like something always happens when you're getting that money and you're like, fuck, I gotta spend it on this now.
Water pump, some other shit goes wrong, right? Exactly.
Yep.
All right, let's get into some fantasy football stuff. We're going to talk about some waiver targets. I wrote down a couple here, but you guys can chime in with some guys I missed. Look for the mistakes of your league mates. Tomorrow is a waiver wire day, But at the same time, the waiver wire is not over on Wednesday morning. Guys are going to drop good players that they don't think are good because one man's garbage is another man's gold, that kind of stuff. So look and see who your league mates dropped on, tomorrow morning when they were picking people up. So go after your waiver targets, but at the same time, look around and see, mop up, play janitor, mop up, make sure you pick up all the guys that people left over. So they don't have room for people sometimes, or they're done with somebody who's having bad weeks. It is what it is, man. Go after your guys. So for the quarterback position, obvious one, Daniel Jones. His rushing ability is it's carrying him right now. Sam Ellinger, somebody's going to take over a job. Andy Dalton. We have to mention Jameis Winston on the show every week because he's my favorite player in the NFL. But is Andy Dalton going to bench Jameis Winston?
Man,
it's a tough call to see. I mean, these coaches, you get a little momentum going, you get something going. It's hard to just yank a guy out and put another guy right back in. The other issue too is that you stick with that guy, then you start calculating how many mistakes we let him make before we yank him and put the other guy back in. It's just a really tough call. I mean, I think you saw that with Belichick last night on Sunday Night Football. I mean, they had been playing so well with Zappy, and it's like, how do you pull that guy? But then Matt comes back, you're like, I gotta play him some. And then I just think they got themselves in a weird situation where if I were them, I would have probably came out, started Zappy, just been like, hey, we've been playing well with him, let's go with him. And if he starts faltering, let's give Mac a couple series, see how the ankle feels. I would have probably done the opposite way, just because of the way it had been running. But that's just that quarterback position is a tricky turn where you just don't want to kill the confidence of a player or your team by just making switches back and forth. I think you're a little easier to do it in college. I think it's very hard to do in the NFL.
Yeah, Zappy would be another one. Now, I could have sworn I heard Bill Belichick saying yesterday that it was a game plan situation. That's why they switched Mac Jones out, because he wasn't in practice all week long and didn't get all the information. So I'm not sure this is an official benching, just kind of like Mac Jones wasn't up to speed yet, because I saw Mac Jones run a couple times. He actually looked pretty good running and sliding for first down. So I don't know where this team's going. I can't see them throwing away a number 14 first-round pick for Bailey Zappi, right this early in Mac Jones's career. But
here's the thing that this kind of reminds me of. I was just talking about some of this the other day with somebody. Remember when the former Washington Redskins took RG3 and then turned around 2 rounds later and took Kirk Cousins? And people are like, what are you doing? You just took a top 5 quarterback and you just wasted a 3rd rounder on another QB. And what happened? Within 2 years, Kirk Cousins, the full-time starter, RG3's out of the league.
Well,
now, I don't think that's it's injury prone, exactly. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case with Mac Jones. But I could see Zappy really pushing him. I could see Zappy being a guy that could earn a spot here in the next year or two. I mean, he struggled a little at the end of the game last night, but he's a guy. I put this on one of my Discord pages. I have like 45%, 50% share of Bailey Zappi. So he's a guy I really like coming in. I didn't think he'd get a lot of PT this year, but I just thought he was a guy that had a chance to be an NFL quarterback down the line. Now, does this mean that he eventually beats out Mac Jones and Mac Jones gets traded? Maybe, but maybe Zappi ends up somewhere else. But I just feel like this is going to be way closer than people thought it was going to be. And I kind of had that feeling, and I took Zappi in a lot of leagues just in case that this situation turned out the way it is now.
We'll get to the Patriots in a minute when we get there. But what if somebody called the Patriots last night and said, hey, we'll take a trade for Mac Jones, and they put Bailey Zappi in right away, like mid-game trade, and you'll find out later this week or midweek. I think it would already happened already, but that would have been something weird. But
yeah, I don't think it's something that happens this year at all. But I could see way things develop. Something happens. Do they does he get tweaked again, and then Zappi goes on a run, and then they turn around and say, well, I guess Zappi's our guy. Let's look to move Mac Jones. I mean, it's not that they haven't done it in the past, because they have. Right. So Jimmy G, Tom Brady with Bledsoe. I mean, these things can happen. So it's one of those things. If Zappi is out there in any dynasty like I'm picking him up. I'm stashing him in every league. I stash him in most of my leagues already, but I searched everywhere and say, is there any league I don't have him in that's not a redraft 1 QB league? And if not, then I'm picking him up.
Any other quarterbacks we missed? I think we're good.
If Geno's still out there for some reason, Geno would still be a pickup. I know some people, they'll just like look at him and like, oh, it's Geno Smith. But man, the dude's playing good, man.
That was me like 4 weeks ago when I should have picked him up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's-
Ellinger for the Colts is going to be interesting. I watched him a lot in preseason. I went to a couple of training camps this year for the Colts. I thought he looked really solid in camp. He felt like a guy coming out of Texas that needed like 3 or 4 years to really get it. I think the guy's got some talent. I don't think they're just throwing out some random bum out there. I think he does have some ability. Just going to be interesting to see how the situation works out with the whole Matt Ryan thing. I mean, I'm going to the game this weekend. I thought I was seeing Matt Ryan versus Carson Wentz, the rematch, and now I'm seeing Ellinger versus Taylor Heineke. So, yeah, you just never know. I mean, I think Ellinger is a guy, like, obviously, if you have Matt Ryan as Superflex, you got to pick him up.
yeah.
I'm picking him up in a lot of leagues where I'm trying to block other guys that now have injuries and only have 2 QBs. I'm trying to pick him up if I can find a spot for him, because even if he only starts 1 or 2 weeks, you're blocking other guys from getting him. And that's kind of how I'm handling with him. I have zero expectations going into this game this week of what he's going to do, but I'm excited to at least see what he's got. Give him a chance. I mean, Matt Ryan, love the guy, but he has been an absolute turnover machine for the Colts. And if they can pound the ball, if putting in a young guy means they'll go back to running the ball all the time and play action passing like they should be, like what they were doing early last year, I'm all for that if I'm a Colts fan.
Yeah, Paris Campbell's going to go nuts again.
I love Paris. I'll take Paris all day. Paris is the only guy I have more of. I have 50% Paris Campbell for some crazy reason in my life.
Yeah. All right, so running backs. I have Michael Carter in just about every league I'm in, and they just, I was like, yes, I put him on a trade block in every league, laughing at everyone, and then they make that trade. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! Like, not that I'm super scared of any other competition coming in there, but it is what it is. So Michael Carter, Kyron Williams is someone that I kind of like. I know that a lot of, the guy was a good running back in college, and when he got to he went to the Underworld Olympics, it didn't run like everybody wanted him to, so he got thrown on and pegged down the board. But he's someone that I think that is going to be used in this offense. So Kyron Williams, Gus Edwards, someone obviously also to pick up. I think most people who are Gus Edwards truthers never let go of Gus Edwards like myself, so they already own him. But what are running backs you guys talking about? Who else would you think of as far as waiver wire is concerned to pick up? Probably like Deonta Foreman.
It's pretty thin out there at the moment. I mean, if Deontay Foreman wasn't already on your team, he's a guy to pick up. I've got him on a lot of my rosters. I just had him because I had a lot of CMC and I was trying to cover myself with him. But Foreman's a guy, definitely. Or if you're running back needy and you got a team that like Foreman's sitting 4th or 5th on their bench, and you could give up like a 5th rounder for him, or maybe even a 4th. Maybe it's worth a shot trying to pick him up. The running backs are just If you're in any kind of 12 to 16 team league, there is absolutely no one out there. Now, if you're in like a 10 team league, there's probably a chance you can maybe grab one of these guys. But man, it's almost all my leagues. It's super, super thin right now as far as that's concerned.
Grab
James
Snoop Connor.
Yeah, something like that.
Love
Maybe you get an Etienne or somebody hurt. That's what I'd be looking at. Not a guy that's going to play now, but like, hey, who's all got hurt and who's been moved? Mm-hmm. Who's on the depth chart? Who's the number 2 guy that if something else happens, who's coming in for him?
Mm-hmm. Few guys that I noticed were like Keontae Ingram. He had the touchdown last week for the Cardinals. Should have had almost 2 touchdowns. That's another guy that might have a chance here if he can keep going. I like Zonovan Knight for the Jets as well. He was a guy in preseason who was really smashing, and I really liked him. He's been on the practice squad all year because they hadn't had any injuries up until now, but they activated him to the roster today.
I just cut him in my Campus Canton league. I hate it. Like, even it's 35 team leagues with no defense, no kickers, and I had Zonovan Knight in there, and I'm like, I picked up. I forgot who I picked up in that league, but I just cut Zonovan Knight like probably last Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like, this happens to me all the time.
Yeah, it's like it's week 6. I get it. He hasn't played yet, hasn't been called up or active at all. So I've held on to him in most of my leagues, so I kind of got lucky there. Kind of just see what happens there, because I mean he still has Carter in front of him, Ty Johnson's in front of him. That's another guy you can maybe pick up. James Robinson, obviously they just traded for.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think with Robinson, he's kind of just a plotter, man. I don't like these running backs off Achilles injuries. There's been none of them that have ever like really succeeded afterwards. And the only one who has is, I guess, Deontay Foreman a little bit, who you just mentioned a few minutes ago. He's the only one who's like ever come back and actually done a little bit fantasy wise, but like these other guys, man, it's a brutal injury for running back. So I
He,
don't know if I necessarily trust it.
I tell you what, he looked real good coming out this year when this year started.
Yeah.
Robinson looked pretty good for a game or two, but it looks like he's just kind of washed right now, doesn't it? I
Well,
mean,
my thing is, I agree. I mean, if it coming out, he looked pretty solid. I was like, man, I snuck him in a late auction league, and I was like, ooh, that was a great pick by me. But if Jags this much into the season is ready to just cut bait and trade him, well, that to me that feels like a bad sign that they know he is gave them
Cook.
everything
Yeah.
he had and he's got nothing left because I mean he barely touched the ball the last 2 weeks and again you're an Etienne injury away from needing him again. Well, they obviously are like even if he gets hurt, we want to go to someone else. So to me, it feels like a desperation move for the
yeah,
James Robinson. I had a offer for Courtland Sutton the other day. I didn't make the move. I'm now kicking myself hardcore for not making the trade. So I should have done it, but I was running back thin. But yeah, I feel like Robinson could be cooked.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. I put on here Nico Collins because he's someone that should be rostered anywhere anyway, especially in Dynasty. I think the guy's super, underrated. So Wandell Robinson, Paris Campbell, guys like that. I mean, we're talking about like these are, I'm trying to keep it like somewhat simple as far as guys who are, maybe not rostered in big, humongous leagues, but 10 to 12 team leagues. So uh, as far as receivers are concerned, who else would you guys pick up for wide receivers?
You have to watch out a little bit on Nico. He did get injured in the game last week, so I'm not sure if he's going to play this week. But some other
Marquise.
guys, yeah, Josh Reynolds for the Lions, if he's still out there, I think he's going to be their number one outside receiver for a little bit here with Chark out, and Jamison Williams isn't ready to come back yet. So I think Josh Reynolds could be a guy you can count on here a little bit. I've seen a couple of my like home redraft leagues, like 18 man roster leagues. Elijah Moore got dropped. He's coming back this week. So we'll see how it happens there. The guy's got talent. They got to give him the ball, but the Jets just aren't throwing the ball. So, but I've noticed him out there in a few of my
You know
leagues.
who I want to pick up right now is like Khalil Shakir because I think that after these
Right.
bye
Yep.
weeks, like James Cook and Khalil Shakir are probably going to have some kind of role in this offense. That happens all the time with these rookies. They get not, don't get me wrong. I like Isaiah McKenzie. I've had him on my teams for the last couple of years, but I think Shakir is just a better all around player than McKenzie, and I could see him coming in and getting a lot more than I think it was like 3-1 last game. And as far as routes were concerned, but I could see Khalil Shakir by maybe making this a 50-50 contest kind of. So that's someone I'd pick up. James Cook, that hasn't played much.
Yep.
Those guys are probably rostered in Dynasty because people just drafted them. But if they're out there, get them.
Here's the guy I'm picking up, and I have to tell you, I can't even believe I'm saying this because I've been out on him his entire career. But Dante Pettis is getting some work for the Bears. And if you're in a 14 team league, 16 team league where you're needing some fill ins during these bye weeks, Pettis is a guy that I've gone out and searched my leagues to see, hey, is he out there? Can I pick him up? Because he's getting playing time. Ran a reverse to him. He's getting some decent looks down the field. And if Justin Fields can throw anything like he did on Monday, Pettis starts to become, at least a playable guy in deep leagues. So he's a guy I'm looking at deep leagues.
Cool. And then tight ends. I have Greg Dulcich everywhere. I love this guy. He was my third favorite tight end coming out of this. My third ranked tight end coming out of this draft class. So Kate Otten would probably get a shot. Someone who was kind of they roughed him up at the beginning of the season. Mike Gesicki wasn't getting anything. Trade rumors are still possible. Mike Gesicki, someone to pick up. Who else? As far as Daniel Bellinger would have been one, but I'm not sure what's going to happen with that eye orbit. So we'll see what happens with that. He was
Yeah,
starting to pick up.
I
Yeah, he
love
was.
Bellinger. I mean, he was just starting to get rolling. He's a guy, I'm a San Diego State fan as well. He was a guy that I liked coming out. I thought he was going to get a great shot with the Giants. He was a guy I was taking every draft I could, and he was just turning that corner, man. And now they're saying at least 4 to 6 weeks, going to have facial surgery, broke a bone in his eye. That's brutal for him because he was just starting to turn around. Dolchich, I love, like you just said. He's a guy I think is going to get in that offense. Cade Otton, he's a guy I like coming out. I thought he was going to get a shot with the Tampa Bay. I've got him everywhere I can. Cameron Brate's been beat up. Kyle Rudolph is nothing. So Otton's going to get some shots there. And Tom Brady likes to hit the tight end. So Otton's a guy I've either, if I didn't have him already, I'm picking him up. If I already had him, I'm starting to play him, especially in tight end premium or two tight end leagues for sure.
How about you?
Yeah, two big ones for me would be Foster Moreau if he's still out there with Waller maybe missing another week or two with his hamstring injury. Moreau's always been a guy who's filled in really well there. And then I think the big one that's not on here is Harrison Bryant for the Browns. And Joku's going to miss probably a month. And their third tight end, Pharaoh Brown, got a concussion last week. So if you're in desperate need for a tight end this week, I like Dulcich a lot, and I like Harrison Bryant quite a bit, and they play on Monday night against the Bengals. So definitely like Harrison Bryant this week because they don't have any other tight ends. I think he's going to get force fed, play 100% of the snaps as well.
Yeah, it was so hard. The island of Foster Moreau, it was him and Harrison Bryant were on my team for last. Harrison Bryant all last year anyway. And I'm like, this guy's never gonna get. When they traded for Njoku, I'm like, the party's over, man. Like, then they just signed Njoku to a 3 or 4 year contract. I'm like, that's it, man. The dream is over with. But it's now it's his time to shine. Hopefully, he'll get. I mean, obviously, Njoku's coming back and he'll take his spot over. But Harrison Bryant who do you love lately? If you can't love the one, how does that go? If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with, kind of thing. So
yeah.
So yeah, that's it. All right, some injuries. The worst part of fantasy football. Brees Hall, obviously, we talked about that. Out for the season. It's probably a little bit of next season too with a torn ACL. Terrible news. Amon-Ra St. Brown concussion. He should be fine, but that seemed like it wasn't a really bad one. Like some of these guys are staggering all over the place. He should be back by this week. Cordell Patterson posted pretty impressive videos of him working out. It looks like he's ready to come back. Deebo Samuel, the tweak in the hammy, hopefully only a couple weeks. Those are funny. DeAndre Swift's shoulder. I think he was real close coming back last week, but they don't want to push it, so he should be back soon. You already mentioned Darren Waller with his hammy. He's had injuries are kind of piling up on him, so it's not as easy to recover when you're 30 years old, and it's like Waller is. So he's not a 20-year-old kid, and hammies are funny to work with. Mike Williams, high ankle sprain. DK Metcalf, patellar tendon in a couple weeks. That was a scary one. That was kind of nobody knew what was going on there. It was. I'm glad it's only a couple week injury. Jahan Dotson, hamstring, and Joku, high ankle sprain. Those are tricky. Treylon Burks, turf toe, very tricky. People end their careers on turf toe injuries, so you never know. Anything you guys want to talk about with those injuries? Any other injuries I missed?
It sounded like Amon-Ra actually didn't have a concussion. For some reason, they just kept him out for the rest of that game. He should play this week. He should be fine. I don't know. This whole new concussion protocol stuff, I think it's going to hurt us some here. Come down the fantasy playoffs. Someone's going to take a shot to the head. They think it's a concussion, and it's really not, and they're not going to be able to return to the game. And it's going to suck.
I can't wait till my championship game in fantasy football when somebody hits around a little hard and my Josh Allen's out or something like that, and just because of speculation, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yep, and then when it comes to the playoffs, it'll all be fair game, and that won't exist anymore.
That's what we've learned. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, too much money involved. So we're gonna do some current events and player news going on. We're gonna go through the teams real fast. The Bears. We're going to go in alphabetical order here. We'll kind of do the odds and evens. JT, the Bears, are they underrated or are they just a really good team? They're a little underrated.
The Bears is week to week. I mean, if Justin Fields plays like he did on Monday night, this team is good. This team can be good. I've watched basically all their games this year, and there's games where he looks scared to throw. I mean, he had guys wide open in windows, and it's like he didn't want to put it in there. He looked like a different QB on Monday night. They got the ground game going, which you would have thought that's what they wanted to do all year. And the defense plays like they did. I mean, Roquan Smith everywhere. The two rookie DBs that everyone's ripped them for taking instead of wideouts. Brisker, who I love to call Brisket with a great pick, and then I'm blanking on his name, but the rookie quarterback, Gordon, with a great play. I mean, if that defense can play like they did, and they can continue to pound the rock, which I love Montgomery. I've always been a Monty fan, and Herbert's a great change of pace back with them, and then you get Fields running all over the place. I mean, they've got to stick whatever that game plan was, whatever they talked about leading up to that. They got to go. We got to stick with that almost week to week. We don't care who we're playing. let's be us. I think if they do that, all of a sudden these Bears players who've been completely irrelevant for fantasy, all of a sudden you got a little light at the end of the tunnel for some of these guys.
Yeah, Chris Joel Smith walked in my garage last night, with a cigar, a bottle of bourbon, and with his DraftKings thing. Saying he bought the over and the Bears for this game in a parlay. I'm like, you idiot! Who would do that?
Dude,
It's the worst game in the world. And sure
I've had
enough,
a
man.
I've had a buddy who's literally bid on the Bears and every Justin Fields prop bet all year long. And finally last night it all paid off. I think he won about $1,500. I mean, everybody was texting him, "Congrats, man, congrats!" Because he took all the over Fields bets, the over Fields touchdowns. I felt good for him because at least he stuck with it. And I would have hated to see him not bet at the one time he actually hit them all.
Right, Eric, are the Bengals back on track?
Yeah, definitely. They're playing a lot of shotgun offense again, letting Burrow just sit back there and throw. He's taking a lot of the underneath stuff, and he's beating that shell cover too that a lot of teams have been playing on them. And they figured it out. The last 2 weeks, they've been absolutely humming. I think he's got to be the number one overall quarterback the last 2 weeks. So yeah, they're full go, man. All those three receivers, tight end, Mixon. That's all they're giving the ball to as well. So you
Yeah.
love seeing that in fantasy. Just give it to these five guys, no one else. You're not dicking around with the third and fourth receivers and a backup tight end or anything like that. Just give it to these five guys. You start them every week, and they're going to score your fantasy points.
JT, the Bills, he's got off a bye. Khalil Shakir, James Cook, they play a bigger role in this offense now. And how does this offense going to be better than it already is?
I mean, if the Bills can just come back and keep doing what they're doing, I think they're everybody's favorite right now, I think, to get to the Super Bowl. And obviously, if you got any of their guys on in fantasy, you're playing those guys all the time. They're crushing. I mean, obviously, the only guy that's really, you just don't know every week is do you play Devin Singletary or not? I mean, I like Singletary. He's my ultimate RB2 guy. If I'm like, I took a stud RB and then I kind of waited and took all wide receivers, everybody else. He's that guy I got kind of late and I just plug it in and I'm just like, please give me 10 points and maybe squeak in a touchdown. Give me 14 or 16 and I'm happy with him.
Yeah, Eric, Broncos, is Russ healing his hamstring or his ego?
I think a little bit of both, honestly. He probably needs the rest for a week or two with that hamstring and his shoulder. Hopefully that gets him back on track. They lost Mike Boone here this week as well, so they picked up Marlon Mack. So now they have three older running backs back there that they're just going to run the ball to. I thought Rippon played okay. They were, wasn't like fantastic or anything, but it wasn't like terrible.
Right.
So if they have to play Rippon, I think they can be okay. I think the Jets are a pretty good team, so that's what happens when you play a good team. So
yeah.
I think they'll get back on track though here soon.
Speaking of running the ball, JT, the Browns, Nick Chubb is good again. He got vultured a touchdown by Kareem Hunt. Is this when Watson comes back? I'm not sure how good his offense is going to be, but it's this running game is what it's all about.
Oh yeah, those guys are legit. I mean, they're pounding the rock. They're doing exactly what you want them to do, what you thought they'd do coming into the season. A couple other teams, I would love to see them do the same thing as the Browns. Like, hey, put the ball on the ground. I mean, Chubb, Hunt, those guys can pound it. They're doing a great job. And you just need Brissett, to play solid, not turn it over. They've been in pretty much every game this year. I mean, so the Browns, he hasn't been a bad super flex play if you had to play him where you got him. And I mean, Amari Cooper's still a play every day. And like he talked about earlier, Bryant is going to see some target share. So he's a guy you might want to look at getting in your lineup.
Eric, the Buccaneers, what was Mike Evans signing for the officials?
Yeah, I just caught that one right before we started here. Man, I don't know. That's I think they were just, from what I was reading there are two officials that are retiring soon. So maybe they were getting an autograph. That was maybe the last time they did that for him. I know they came up with some excuse that he was just trying to get his phone number, but it didn't look like he was writing down no 10-digit phone number. So
Right. What about Tom Brady? Is he like? I mean, it sounds like he's ready to just leave, like hang up his cleats. Is this a possibility, or you think he's just like he said? He was talking about he made a mistake. He's talking about like. I mean, how close is he to like how many more games is it gonna take for him to just kind of say I'm done? Because he looked bad.
Yeah, that offensive line struggling a little bit. I think the play calling struggling a little bit. They just got to get into their rhythm a little bit. Get a bye week under them and take a little bit of a break. And then once they come back from that bye week, they'll be all right. But you know what? Every time we count out Tom Brady, he always comes back and goes and wins a Super Bowl or something. So I'm not counting him out this time either.
JT, the Cardinals, Hopkins he's just that good. Like, he's awesome. And this backfield's about to get real ugly. What about this team?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have went out and tried to get more shares of DeAndre Hopkins before he came back from suspension. I was on the tip of my tongue. I was thinking about it. I got him in a couple leagues. I was like, man, maybe I should throw out some offers, see if I could steal him from somebody that got tired of sitting on him. Man, I wish I would have offered more. I mean, he's come out and looked like the old DeAndre. I mean, he's looked great. I think maybe he's the thing that, Kyler Murray needed to spark him. Because, I mean, if you took Kyler Murray as your number one pick in a super flex or, a top 3 or 4 pick in a regular league, I mean, he has just not been the guy that you thought you were getting as far as points-wise, fantasy-wise go. If I'm a James Conner owner, I am real nervous right now.
Yeah,
I'm real nervous. Even if he comes back, I'm not sure he's going to get you any of that production you paid for. I would hate to have an Arizona running back that I was counting on. Now, if I picked up an Eno Benjamin and I'm sliding him in there as a flex play or RB2, I love it because I didn't pay much for him and I'm hoping to get some production. But man, going forward, James Conner would make me nervous almost about any week to play him until I see something when he comes back.
Eric, Chargers, Mike Williams ankle injury. Is that going to be Keenan Allen or somebody else in this team that's going to open up the offense?
Yeah, it's probably going to have to be Keenan Allen and Gerald Everett and Austin Eckler. I think they're going to be their main guys. I don't know if you guys have seen the still image of Mike Williams' injury there when he got basically the leg bent in half, man. That's pretty brutal. And he couldn't put any weight on it at all in the locker room. He had to have trainers help him out. This is going to be one of those ankle injuries, kind of like Jerry Jeudy's had last year of week 1. I think this is going to be like a 2-month injury, so I wouldn't expect Mike Williams back for at least 2 months.
Yeesh, yeah, that is not good. The Chiefs, this backfield's a mess. JT, just backfield's a mess. Do any of these 3 have a chance to take over the backfield? And is Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he's like an absolute wizard at quarterback. Is Sky Moore going to grow up and stop being a special teams doghouse resident, or like what's going on with this whole team here? We got problems on the backfield, special teams, and Mahomes making up for it on the offense. But what's going to happen with this backfield, first of all?
Yeah, I mean, this backfield's a mess. I hated this backfield coming into the season. I mean, I didn't want any part of any of these guys because I just felt like you were never going to get consistent play out of anybody. I've never been a CEH guy. He's actually been better this year, so I've kind of, bit my tongue on that one a little bit because he's actually produced a little more. But I just don't want any of those guys. You just don't know who's going to play week to week. I mean, I remember Ronald Jones at the beginning of the year coming here, and everyone's like, "Oh, Ronald Jones got a shot." I mean, you haven't even heard from the guy. I want none of those guys. I want all the Mahomes I can get. I mean, you're not getting them for anything reasonable at all. I've got teams that I have no business competing with, but I have Mahomes, and I'm just sticking it out, hoping he can save me with some 50-point miraculous performance in the playoffs to win me. So I love him. My boy Juju is finally coming around. He's finally getting Juju involved. I'm absolutely loving Juju right now. I love it that he's got Juju. He's got Kelsey. It feels like that's the way this team's supposed to work through those 2 guys. And then he get that extra Hardman in there, that MVS. Those are the guys that like, hey, there's our secondary players. We get a couple big plays out of them. We're going to win using those guys. I like the idea where they use a Hardman a little more in the backfield with his speed. I'd much rather be playing a Hardman in a flex than most of these running backs.
Yeah, the offense is awesome. JT, I'm going to let you take this one again because the Colts. Matt Ryan hurt his shoulder, but Sam Ehlinger will start the rest of the season, even if Matt Ryan heals up is kind of the story now. What else with the Colts as far as that goes? What else is going on with the Colts besides Paris Campbell being a stud that you could comment on here?
This team is they just lost their identity. I mean, they got a couple games where guys got hurt and they got down, and they just decided they're going to throw the ball every play. I mean, watching this Titans game last weekend, it was a 1-score game almost the entire game, and Jonathan Taylor got 10 touches. 10. I mean, that's not the Colts from last year or the year before that we saw when they played really, really well, was when they were giving Jonathan Taylor touches. Neon Himes was changing pace back, and then they were setting their quarterbacks up for nice deep plays down the field because they were running the ball so much. They're just coming out slinging the ball every play like they have Patrick Mahomes, and they don't. They've got to figure that out. They got to get back to pounding the rock, running the ball, and then getting their young wideouts, which they have talent. Pittman's Pittman. They got to look for him more often. Paris Campbell is finally broke out after a million years. It feels like he's finally doing what you want out of him. And Alex Pierce, I think, is the sneaky pick up for anyone. If you don't have him yet, you got to get him. I loved him in rookie drafts. I took him in the second or third. If he made it to the third round, I took him. But I took him in the second round of every rookie draft. I just think he's got a ton of potential. I think this team has talent. They just got to figure out who they are. And I think the problem right now is coaching. I think the players don't know who they are and they're not supposed to be doing. But I've not given up on this team totally yet. I'd like to see what Ellinger has. I'm hoping because they're going younger, it forces the coaching staff into pounding the rock. And we get to see that JT of old. We get 20, 25 carries, 150 yards, and 2 touches. That's what I'm hoping we're going to see out of that. And because they're going to not want to throw the ball as much, I'm hoping that's what we're looking forward to the next couple of weeks with Ellinger at QB.
Eric, JT's a season ticket holder for the Colts, so I let him take that one.
No worries.
You get the Commanders. Terry McLaurin's alive. We saw him come alive, and Antonio Gibson should be the main back on this team. It's not even close. What do you think about these Commanders?
Yeah, McLaurin and Heineke really have a connection going back to last year, so it was nice to see that again. I think you can put McLaurin back into your lineups with confidence. I'm happy to see that. I'm excited to see once they get Dotson back and he has McLaurin, Dotson, and Samuel to throw to. So interested to see when that happens, how they look. And yeah, and Gibson is definitely the more explosive back. I mean, when you watch Brian Robinson run, like he tries these outside runs and he's just not fast enough. Like he's just a plotter. So
he's getting bottled up every time the outside.
Yeah.
The linebackers could see him. They floated the ball. And it's like the other thing with Robinson, too, is he tries to stop and shuffle. And he's not fast enough to do those kind of moves, especially when the entire defense is swarming to you on the outside. And you're an island by yourself. Like you picked the wrong time to be shifty, buddy. You're not shifty to begin with.
Yeah, he needs to be a north-south runner only and just grind it up the middle and between the tackles. But going outside is not his game, no.
No. JT, the Cowboys, is this a run team with a good defense now? Or is Noah Brown better than Michael Gallup? What's going on here?
I'm not sure what's going on with the wide receiver core for the Cowboys, honestly, but they're playing amazing defense. And if they can keep from turning the ball over, they're going to be in every game. I mean, this defense has looked phenomenal. They're getting back to running the ball a little bit. I think sometimes it's funny how these teams, you get a few injuries, get things going. They're like, maybe we start running the ball a little more. I think if they can run the ball at a decent clip and they're not forcing Dak to throw 45, 50 times a game. I know that doesn't help us in fantasy, but I think that makes them a better team, and hopefully they'll have a little bit more balance going forward. I think whenever you have a good defense, I think it kind of forces your offense into doing that a little more, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing out of them. And they're like, hey, our defense is playing pretty good. Maybe we should give them a little time off. Let's pound the rock. Let's hold the ball a little bit. Let's keep those guys as fresh as possible.
Yeah, Eric, Dolphins, is Tua overrated?
No, I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's like right in that 12 to 15 range for fantasy quarterback. So I think he's right in there. And he's got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to throw the ball to. And I think those two are going to prop his numbers up enough to where he's, you can definitely rely on him every single week. Those guys have been getting the ball. They're pretty much top 5, fantasy wide receivers this year. So yeah, I don't think he's overrated. No.
JT, Eagles, and you got 30 seconds on this one, okay? Who's better, the Bills or the Eagles?
I think Bills, but if I had to pick a Super Bowl right now, I'd say it's easy because they're the 2 best records. But I said this 3 weeks ago. I think it's Eagles-Bills, personally.
I think everybody is, yeah, but that could have been a long answer. I appreciate that. Eric, the Falcons, this is a mess. The fantasy options on this team are possibly Marcus Mariota, and that's about it. What are these guys going to do?
Honestly, they were in the perfect game script this week, down 21 to throw the ball, and they still threw the ball like 13 times.
Right.
So from this point forward, I can't play Drake London. I can't play Kyle Pitts. Like this week, I'm playing Harrison Bryant over Kyle Pitts in the league. I'm playing Foster Moreau over Kyle Pitts. Oof. I'm just sitting these guys. I can't play them until they show me that they're willing to throw the ball, and they're not. Like they're just killing you on your teams right now if you're starting them. And I need wins right now. I can't be, dicking around with what they got there.
All right, JT, 49ers. Will Christian McCaffrey completely take over this offense, and will Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, TDP ever be relevant again?
I tell you what, I sure hope so. I love CMC. I had him on a ton of teams. I moved for him this year. I would love to see him just be getting the ball a million times and see Jimmy G just turning, looking, dropping it off to him, turning, looking, dropping it off to him. That would be absolutely great. I'm just hoping he can fill in. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's been in the league plenty of times. I don't know why he wouldn't just immediately start fitting. He looked pretty decent for being on the team for 3 days or whatever it was last week.
Right.
So I just think going forward, if he can stay healthy, I think he just gives them another, weapon. And I think the Niners, I think it really is going to improve their offense. And just think about next year. I know this is a little ahead of yourselves, but if you could get a Trey Lance back running RPOs with CMC and Debo, that's pretty scary, man. That could be a really fun running team, almost like Lamar was that first year with the Ravens or the MVP year with the Ravens, where they just ran RPO to death on everybody, and then they just threw bombs all day long. That would maybe make this Niners offense fun to watch again. But that's all I have to say. I love CMC. I'm hoping he blows up.
All right, Eric, the Giants better running back, Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley?
No, it's still Barkley, but I've never been the biggest Daniel Jones fan. If any of the listeners know me, I despise Daniel Jones, but I got to give him his props this year. He's playing pretty good, a lot better than a lot of these other bums that are playing right now. So I got to give him his props right now.
Yeah, JT, Travis Etienne, is he the only show in town going forward? And it's Trevor Lawrence. Is he? Shouldn't he be a little better than he is right now?
So I've been on the T-Law train all year. I made some trades in the offseason. People are like, ooh, I'm not. That's a little questionable. I just went and acquired him a ton of places. I just thought he had a lot of upside, especially long-term, the next, decade or so. Man, he's looked so good in certain games. And then I watch other games and I'm just like, I'm not sure what he's thinking there, what he's doing there. But that's been a lot of teams this year in the NFL. I still think he has a ton of upside. I really do. I think Etienne being in there with him, I actually think helps him. I think it makes him feel a little more comfortable running and dumping off to him. I actually, even though the Jags team just got beat, I actually think they've got a pretty decent upside the rest of the year. The South has not looked good. Indy is reeling. Titans are winning, but not convincingly. Houston's been in games, but you never know. So I actually like T-Law. I like his outlook the rest of the year. Christian Kirk, we talked about it. I think he's been really good. In some of these games where you think they might get down and have to throw, Zay Jones is kind of my sneaky deep flex play. A lot of times, I think he's got a guy's got upside in games that are going to throw a lot.
I just wish they didn't spend so much money on one player and put a little bit of money towards 2 or 3 better, good players. Kind of. I get it that Zay Jones is okay, and there's other guys on the team that are just mid. Like nothing crazy special. I feel like they're like with the head coach, offensive coordinator, a quarterback like this, like they're like 2 good pieces away from being fantastic. So I think until they add some more pieces, they're just going to be like this team. But
Yeah.
I think if as long as Trevor's getting familiar with the offense and they could bring in better pieces next year, you'll see a much better version of Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, I think if you could get one stud wide receiver for this team, I think Christian Kirk's good, but I think he's your 2 or 3. If you could get an absolute stud to lead the way, Christian Kirk's your 2. Your 3 is Zay Jones, and then if you get some kind of upgrade over Evan Ingram at tight end, I think this team would actually kind of see this offense, get out of this sputter and actually really start to show some signs, because they've looked really good in certain games this year, and then they have other games where they just fall flat.
Yeah, it's like they're just trying out the playbook or something instead of like calling the right plays. I don't know,
Mhm.
whatever. But Eric, the Jets, Brees Hall towards the ACL is unfortunately out for the season, leaving Michael Carter as a 3-down back. We thought, but now they added some pieces, and what's going to happen with this backfield now?
Yeah, we're just going to have to see how Robinson fits in here. I think they maybe want to try and give him kind of the same role that Brees Hall did maybe and see how it works. But I just think Carter's going to be the better back personally. I think he's got more explosion. He's the better pass catcher. So I just think Carter's going to end up being the lead back here personally. And then, they haven't been throwing the ball very much. Like they're like 20 passes a game since Zach Wilson's got in there. So, and I don't see it kind of changing anytime soon. So it's hard to even play the Zach Wilson or the Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore's, Tyler Conklin's. Like, I can't even play those guys in my fantasy lineups either until they start throwing the ball more. So I think Michael Carter is really the only guy that you can be playing right now from this team.
Right, JT Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a concussion, left the game, but he should be fine, like we talked about earlier. Pick up Jameson Williams if he's not picked up already, but I think everybody in the earth has him already on their team somewhere in the IR or wherever. Goff needs everything to go perfect around him to thrive. To be fair, no Swift, no St. Brown. No, it's a little hampering, but where is this team at right now?
Yeah, they've been banged up, so that always hurts. But I mean, this team was what number one scoring team in the league 2-3 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden they've just fallen flat. They had some really good game plans when their guys were healthy, and I think if you've watched their games, they're not quite sure what they're doing now. No Swift, it hurts the big playability. Even though I like Jamal Williams as a running back, Amon-Ra Brown, obviously when he's not in there, I think they're trying to think. I mean, you're getting some play out of some other guys. Reynolds has stepped up. Khalif Raymond had a big catch last week. But again, those are the guys you don't want to be counting on. I mean, that's why their offense does not look as good without those guys. Hawk has had like one or two solid games this year, and then he's been basically nothing the rest of the way. Right. So at this point, honestly, for me, I'm not playing any of their players. The only guy I'm playing really is Josh Reynolds in deep leagues where I need an extra flex play. And then I'm just sitting here waiting for DeAndre Swift to get back because I need him in so many leagues. And so I'm hoping at least they sat him out so long that he is actually going to come back fully healthy and ready to roll. But they've got to do something. They got to get some guys back because this offense, after looking so great early in the season, has fallen flat.
Eric, the Packers. Are the Packers are in complete panic mode here? And what's up with A.J. Dillon? I mean, I don't understand it. The receivers, they're not on the same page with Aaron Rodgers, not in the same book or even the same library, it seems right now. How does the Packers fix this offense?
Yeah, him and LaFleur need to sit down and just kind of go with this offense and go with what worked in the past. They need to get these receivers on the same page, like you said. They're just like Romeo Doubs was just a zero burger this week. He screwed me in a couple leagues, cost me a couple wins. Man, it's just they really need to get those guys on the same page for sure. And then with A.J. Dillon, yeah, I don't know what's up with him either. Like, you'd think they'd be running the ball since they can't really pass the ball that much, but he only had 4 carries this week. They're not even really using him in the pass game because he can catch the ball a little bit too. I think he would be perfect for screens. I mean, he could just roll over some people. It's like Aaron Jones is like the only guy you can play right now, and Alan Lazard got hurt. Sounds like a shoulder injury. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out, but I would be bet he's going to miss a week this coming week. So they're only going to have Sammy Watkins and Dubs, and that's not good.
No, it's not good. I think somebody in the training room is putting like Vaseline on the gloves. And when these guys go out there and they just drop, I've never seen a team drop so many balls before. So it's crazy. But
yeah.
JT Panthers, DJ Moore is a must start going forward. Yes or no?
I hate to say this.
Just say yes.
I've not been a DJ Moore guy, man. I just haven't. He's one of the guys you always look at and you're like, man, why isn't he putting up more points? Why? He just seems like he should, and he just doesn't. And I thought the perfect thing, as soon as I saw the TD come across last week, I go, of course, just got to play the third string quarterback. And then finally he gets a touchdown this year. I'm off the Carolina Panthers, guys. I mean, I played PJ Walker in a couple leagues because I'm desperate, but I'm not playing anybody unless it's maybe Foreman or Chubb. You need a flex running back, or you got all these bye weeks. You need a second RB. I'm playing one of those guys. But yeah, because again, I think when you see these teams go these late quarterbacks, they're going to pound the rock. That's the team I'd rather have the running back on, even if they're going to get 9 in the box. I'd rather have that guy.
Don't worry, Sam Darnold's coming back. All right, we're all going to be saved.
Can't wait. Right. Can't wait. I only got him on like 10 teams. I need him. To come back and be awesome.
We kind of already talked about benching Mac Jones and Bailey Zappe earlier, so we're going to jump to the Raiders. Eric, Josh Jacobs is awesome. Devontae Adams is the only other fantasy option right now in this Raiders offense. Who else are we looking at on the Raiders?
Well, yeah, Jacobs is definitely one of the top 5 running backs in the league right now. Like I kind of alluded to earlier, I think he's playing for that money, so he's doing that right now. Yeah, Devontae Adams. I figured he'd have some bigger monster games, just like get like absolutely just 15, 16, 17 targets to him. And that's not happened yet, but I think it's going to eventually happen. I still like Renfro a little bit, but it'll be interesting to see once Waller is healthy again, if that Waller and Renfro split keeps happening. If that happens, like you couldn't start either of them really. So it's really just Jacobs, Adams, and I think you could still start Derek Carr.
Yeah, Derek Carr's not that. I mean, everybody's making out because his game he wasn't fantastic, but they're using the rushing game so much. It's
Yeah.
whatever. It's working. Why would you stop?
Right.
JT Ravens Gus Bus should be the trusted main back here, or should they trade for a lead back? And should we cut Mark Andrews now since that's zero burger or what?
Yeah, he murdered a ton of people on National Tight End Day, putting up a 0. That was a crusher. I think Gus Edwards good. I don't think you make any trades at this point. I mean, I don't know who else you're going out there and getting. They've already, I mean, what did they had 10 different guys they've run through that running back room this year already and picked
Right.
up and cut and picked up and cut. I mean, I go with Gus Edwards. I go with who I got. You know who I'd love to see get a shot there would be Tyler Beatty, the rookie out of Missouri. They took him late. I thought he would be a guy to get a shot as the third, fourth guy. Injuries maybe give him a shot. I'd love to see them bring him up and play him behind Gus.
He is on the active roster now.
I saw that. I would love to see him get a couple touches, man. The guy was a beast at Missouri running against 9-man fronts on a bad team, and he still led the SEC in rushing. So I'd love to see him get some action. I've got him in a million teams, as you know me as a Missouri guy. But the big one that hurts everyone, what's happening to Lamar Jackson? I mean, he is killing me. I have him in a Superflex league with Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones is putting him to shame right now. I mean, Lamar has single-handedly killed me in like 3 leagues. He has just done nothing the last couple weeks. They got to figure out what's going on there. He's got to be able to complete some passes, and even the running has really kind of dropped off the last couple weeks. You're only seeing maybe 35, 40 yards out of him with 100 yards passing. So that's the big thing I'd be worried about more than the running backs with Dobbins and Gus and all those guys. I'm worried about what Lamar's doing.
Especially in a contract year when he's his own agent. You figured he'd be, looking in the mirror and telling himself, "Hey, man, we got a contract to play for. Let's go."
Yeah, it's been really brutal. I mean, anybody that's a Lamar owner has really been struggling through the last couple weeks. I mean, I've got some really solid teams that I look at and I'm like, this team should be winning. And the reason I'm not winning is Lamar. Lamar's getting outscored by 20, 25 points every week by the other team starting QB, and it's killing you.
Yeah, we talked about the Saints already about Andy Dalton being a starter, and Juwan Johnson is going to keep tasting Hill off the field, hopefully. So that experiment's over. So Eric, the Seahawks, Decaf Metcalf did not have to take a shit this time. He actually really got hurt, and he's picking up a patella tendon injury. So him not being in the offense, we talked about fill-ins. Guys to pick up on a waiver wire behind him, but is Ken Walker going to? He's going to. I mean, he's got how many of these long runs does he get a break? Because this guy's a really good running back.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. I think he's like a top 5 dynasty running back, especially with after all these injuries. I think he's kind of moved up there. My only thing is he just doesn't. They're not using him in the pass game. They're not throwing him the ball at all. So he's kind of like Nick Chubb. So you've seen how people value Nick Chubb in dynasty. It's like, yeah, he's a really good running back, but he was like never like the top 10. Like all the pass catching guys were all above him. So I think Walker is going to be above those guys for now just because of his age. But I think as he gets in his career, he's going to take the kind of the same path that Chubb has and kind of go down the dynasty ranking just because he can't catch. Yeah, Geno's looked really good. I think Tyler Lockett, that's going to be a guy that's just going to get peppered with targets here until DK comes back. And then I mean, they threw him 2 touchdowns this week, but Marquise Goodwin,
Yeah,
like if you're in an absolute pinch, like I don't hate picking him up because Geno has been so efficient with the ball and throwing this year. Like those guys are going to have shots that make plays. So I think Goodwin could be a guy that you could pick up too.
absolutely. JT, your Steelers. Are you buying, holding, or selling Kenny Pickett in Dynasty?
So here's my deal on Kenny. I think the guy's got a lot of talent. I was one of the first guys. There's a video out there of me online just losing my mind when they took Kenny Pickett. I was so against taking him. I do think he's the guy now. I really do. I think he's got that upside. I think he's trying to do too much right now. I know people like to compare him to Ben Roethlisberger as a rookie, but if you won't go back and watch those Steelers games, they were not asking Ben to do anything
Right.
outside of the norm. I mean, Kenny Pickett's literally trying to win games by himself right now, and he's not getting a whole lot of help from his wide receivers or his defense with 4 dropped interceptions on Monday night. Kenny really just made 2 bad reads. He threw one inside where he had a safety over the top help, where he had a one-on-one coverage on the outside if he would have went outside on the early pick. And then the last pick in the game, if he throws that inside on the break on Deontay, it's probably a touchdown. But he thought Deontay was breaking out. He broke in. It was a long throw on the run, so he put everything he had on it, and the defender just read it because he threw it to the wrong side, and Deontay wasn't there to knock it down. So while the interceptions are concerning, because I don't know what he's up to now, maybe 7 already. It's a lot. It's a lot of interceptions. But I do think Kenny Pickett is the way to go forward. If I can get him from somebody that's like on the fence about him right now in Dynasty, I'm picking him up. I think he's the guy going forward for the Steelers. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And if they can ever get an offensive coordinator, I mean, this team has a ton of talent. George Pickens, I mean, God, the guy makes great catches. They got to get him more looks. Deontay's been disappointing. Every Steelers fan I know thinks he's been disappointing this year. Chase Claypool, the guy, you just sometimes just want to strangle him, but other times he looks great. But he's just so frustrating. And the reason these guys are frustrating is you see the talent. You see the talent. You don't know why they're not coming through. But offensively, this team has not been good. They should be much better in fantasy. And I'm hoping down the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, you actually see these guys will be productive and you can play them in the playoffs. But yeah, man, they're rough right now. If you don't have to start them, you don't want to. About George Pickens is about the only guy I'm starting every week in deeper leagues. And Najee, like you talked about earlier, what you paid for him, you're not getting the return on him, and I just don't know when that's going to change. I still think Fairmouth. If you have someone who's not in love with Fairmouth yet at a tight end in a tight end premium league or a start 2 tight end league, go out and get that guy immediately. He's got absolute stud written all over him. If they threw him the ball more, oh my God, the numbers he put up. All his catches are in the fourth quarter, and they're all difficult catches. I mean, as soon as they get him the ball more, this guy's going to put up numbers. There's a good chance he goes down as the best tight end in Steelers history. I mean, I really think he's got that high of upside. Him and George Pickens are the 2 guys I'm going for if I can get them. Those are the guys I'm getting. And again, you don't want to overpay for Kenny Pickett, but I go get him if you have somebody who's not sold. They look at the stats, they haven't watched any of the games, and they're like, oh, look at one TD, 7 picks. I don't think this guy's that good. Go and get him if you can.
Yeah, it's Muth is everybody's guy. I think
Dude, beast.
People are not giving him up who drafted Pat Fryer. They paid too much for him in rookie draft, so it is what it is. They need to do the Bengals playbook last year and go get some offensive linemen, or what the Bengals should have done anyway. As far as retool the entire offensive line, that's I think the biggest problem by far in this whole team. So,
Yep.
So we are at the Texans. Dameon Pierce is an absolute truck. I don't. What do you think? What do you think about that, Eric?
Yeah, he's been absolutely awesome this year so far. I mean, like you said, he's an absolute truck. He's the only one really doing anything on that offense. Brandon Cooks hasn't really done too much. Davis Mills has been, I mean, he had a okay fantasy week this week, but other than that, he's been pretty awful. I think the Texans, especially with the Browns being where they're at right now, I think the Texans have 2 top 6 draft picks right now with the Browns and their own pick. So I think they got to be looking at quarterback for sure. So they're going to have to get, either Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, one of those guys, whoever's going to be one of the top quarterbacks. I think that's who they're going to have to go with. So.
Could you see real quick? Could you see them going trying to do the double up, do the old Burrow chase, and go C.J. Stroud and Najigma Smith, and try to think with those 2 top 6? I know Najigma Smith's been hurt all year, but he was coming in as most people's number 1. Could you see him maybe going that? See if they get that offensive boost to go with Pierce.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all, especially if JSN tests pretty well. I think he's not going to run as fast as I think like Boutte and Jordan Addison and those guys. But it wouldn't surprise me. He's a really good receiver. Him and Stroud have had a good connection in their career. So, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
That would be nice. I like to see those stacks. JT, the Titans. Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry stuff, and the rest of the offense is just the rest of the offense. Oh, is this what it's going to be? It is with
Yep.
nobody else?
Yep, Derrick Henry, ride him and die, man. This is what at least 4 or 5 other teams in the league should be doing. They should be looking at their quarterbacks and their wideouts going like, you got to pound the rock, man. Got to pound the rock. Got to pound the rock. Just give it to Derrick Henry all day, every day. If you got him on a team that's a loser, sell him now. You're not going to get great value for him, but get something. And if you're, I know everybody's saying don't go get him in Dynasty, but man, if you're a contender, this team's got to play him. They gotta give him the rock. I wouldn't mind overpaying slightly for him in a Dynasty league where I think I'm top 2, and he maybe puts me over the top as my second stud RB. I just think this team has learned they cannot throw the rock. They're not gonna win. They're not gonna win doing that, and they're in a bad division. Give Derrick Henry the ball as much as possible. 30 carries for him, 10 for JT last week in a game that was a 1-score game all game. Makes no sense. If I'm the Colts, I'm like, what were you thinking? Watch the tape and do exactly what the Titans did to you and give JT the ball 30 times.
Right. I've been setting like a mid-second for Derrick Henry every week.
I would do that all day. Oh, dude, if I could get somebody to bite on that, I'd be like, yes.
I'm gonna do like the Chinese torture. You just drop a water on somebody's head the entire season. It's the second round pick. And one time they're gonna be like, all right, fine.
Eventually they're like, John, quit texting me. I'll take the trade. Just you'll stop sending it. I like the strategy though. I need to start doing that in all my leagues.
Yeah, I had a 3-3 team going into the week, and someone posted that they were looking to buy some veteran players, and I had Derrick Henry, and I just said, screw it, I might as well just sell him, and I got a 2024 first for him. So
I like that return.
Yeah, I actually like the 2024 class better than the 2023 class. So if I can pick up some 2024 picks, I'm all for it.
I've been trying to go to those 24s. It feels like everyone's holding on to those 23s so tightly. I just been jumping to the 24s if I can get them. I'm like, I'll take a 24 first, and people are like, okay. So I actually, like I said, I like. With you looking at the C2C classes and some of the stuff with you guys, I've been reading and watching a bunch of your stuff. I like that 24 class as well. There's a lot of studs in that class.
Yep.
I hate it. I hate trading to a 2 years ahead of time picks. It drives me nuts.
I tried to set a 25 first today, and I couldn't get anybody to bite.
All right, Eric. The Vikings run a bye, but what do they need to do to adjust themselves to start to come out after the bye to get themselves kind of, besides just the Dalvin Cook show? What else can they do?
Yeah, well, hopefully with the bye week, they self-scouted, got their passing game together. They're another team that they just give it to 5 different players. They give it to Dalvin, Irv Smith, and the 3 receivers. Obviously, they need to get the ball more to Justin Jefferson, kind of use him like they used Cooper Kupp with the Rams. They talked about that all offseason, how they wanted to use him in the slot. I think they need to go more to that, go more to the slot stuff, and really let Jefferson just cook some more that like he has been all this year. So hopefully they do that. I think they're first in the division still. As long as they keep going and stay healthy, I think the Vikings have a shot to win the North this year.
Yeah, Adam Thielen hasn't been kind of like, I think a lot of people traded for Adam Thielen this year, figuring that he would be a decent pickup. He really hasn't flamed out where people thought. I mean, I guess panned out. I should have said to where he's at. And KJ Osborne was kind of a preseason darling because everybody kind of figured that he was going to beat out Amir Smith-Marset, which is one of my guys, but another guy that didn't pan out that I drafted a little too high. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Thielen was that for me. I threw him in a lot of like 3 to 5 player deals, and I was taking Thielen as an extra guy, thinking he'd give me a little bit of experience. He have 1 or 2 good seasons left, but he's been up and down. He's had a couple solid weeks, but he just hasn't been getting the target share. So it's like if he doesn't get a touchdown, he's not getting you much so far this year. Hopefully that changes second half of the season.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for running through all that stuff, guys, as fast as possible. It's never, when you're doing 32 teams, it doesn't go by really fast, but we try to get it done as fast as possible and update where the situation with the teams. A couple commissioner questions for you, Eric. If you're starting up a new Dynasty home league with you and your buddies, what's the perfect roster size? Bench spots, IRs, number of teams, all that kind of stuff. What would you vision? What is your perfect league that you'd like to join or start up, in a brand new startup?
Yeah, so I always play Superflex and tight end premium. It could either be 1.5, 1.75, 2 point, any of that kind of tight end premium I like. Definitely super flex. Um, I kind of want to get your guys' opinion on this. Like, I'm so tired of these damn running backs. I just want to go with quarterback, start one quarterback league, one super flex, and the rest flexes.
I hate that.
Pick whatever spot you want. I don't want to play these damn running backs anymore. I'm just tired of them.
I only have two. People talk about expanding the rosters from like more running backs. I think a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spots. I think 3 flex spots is good, and then
Right.
a super flex spot. But I do like the challenge of making people have to kind of sweat a starting lineup all the time too. I think
Right.
3 flexes on top of a starting lineup and having 11 starters, no kicker, no defense. I think is the perfect offensive setup with 30 man leagues. That kind of deal.
Yep, that's kind of what we do. We do 30, 32. We'll play with taxi too, so we'll have like 5 or 6 taxi spots as well. So you can kind of stash some of those rookies or undrafted free agents.
We
Yeah,
get
I'm in a
an
couple.
argument. We get an
I was
argument
gonna
all the
say
time
I'm in a
about having.
couple. Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say I'm in a couple with only start one running back and one wide receiver, one tight end, one QB, and then there's a bunch of flexes. Those I'd like for bigger leagues. If you're in like
Right.
those leagues with like 16 teams, 18 teams, to me it keeps you in it a little bit longer. I think so many people are traditional, want to start at least 2 running backs, but I've seen a lot of leagues go to start one running back, like start 2 wide receivers, and then everything else, even a tight end, everything's a flex. So I know people are wanting to see, especially with injuries and with the all the bye weeks. I know people. I've seen a lot of people wanting to get a little bit more leeway on how they can construct their team and do stuff. I'm an old running back in the day. I like running backs, so I like to play 2. But I know it's getting hard to fill those 2. But that's why I'm a big give a point per carry or 0.25 per carry, something to kind of get those running backs, especially those guys like you talk about a Nick Chubb or Ken Walker. I'm in a few leagues like that this year where they're giving more yards per carry and first downs. And those guys like a Nick Chubb has become way more relevant in a league like that. I mean, he's like a top 10 guy in that league. But I always like to mix up scoring personally, just because I like to, if I'm going to play in a bunch of leagues, I don't want them all to be exactly the same.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. Like I do like 0.2 points per carry, and then a full point for first downs. Yeah, a lot of receivers benefit from that. But you could change it to just the running backs get the first down
Yep.
points. That's why I hate using MFL, but I love MFL's scoring system. Like for a commissioner, MFL, like I say it all the time, sleeper is awesome. But it's like your 8-pack of or 12-pack of Crayola crayons, and then the guy next to you has got like the 164 pack that has MFL, and he's got a sharpener in the back and every color known to man. But MFL just kind of sucks to do anything with. Sleepers just kind of. I'd rather just take the less scoring options and go with sleeper. It's just
Yeah, John, I know we've talked about this in the past, and I always tell people, man, the sleeper is the new age, easy, everything. You can do it on your phone. The app is super simple, where MFL is like the options are absolutely freaking endless. The setups, everything you do, but that's the guys that are on their computers every day. And I have so many friends that never touch a computer throughout the day anymore. They do everything on their phones. And the MFL is just, it's so much nicer when if you do everything on a computer, you have computer guys, because there are so many options. But for so many people, it's too many options, and they don't want to take the time to figure it out. I have to walk through people every day in one of my MFL leagues. Like, how do I find this? How do I find? You got to click this, then this, then this. It's like, that's a lot. I'm like, I know it's like 4 clicks, but you got to do it that way. But so that's the only reason I think sleepers kind of taken over on some of that. It's just the ease of it. But like I said, the MFL, like you said, I love the fact that you can adjust that scoring really easy, do kick return yards, punt return yards, all that. Yeah.
the tiered scoring is what I love scoring. The tiered scoring on MFL is like, I miss you so much. But how many post COVID? How many IR spots did you have on a new startup or even now in regular leagues? Like I think people were at like 10 before last year, but that's the most you can offer in sleeper. We were at 10, and we're still at 10 right now, and nobody's using anywhere near where they were before. But what's a good IR spot? Like 2, 3, 4, 5?
I'd probably say like 5 or 6. I think it's fine. Me and Scott in a lot of our leagues that we commish together, we literally have it like at like 15, 20, like just unlimited. You just put as many players on there as you want. Usually whenever there's listed as IR or out, we allow that to be put on IR as well. So I usually take advantage of that. I'm the guy on Sunday morning. Any of my guys who are inactive that day are listed as out. I'll put them on my IR, and I'll just go pick up backup quarterbacks, and hopefully I hit a lottery ticket and one of the starters gets hurt and I get a free starter out of it. That's what I did with Rippon a couple weeks ago.
Out is cheating. It can only be IR or what do you
John, I'm
call it?
against you on this. I agree with him. Out and IR should be able to go on IR. All my leagues that I commission out and IR are allowed on IR. Most of my leagues are about 5 IR spots, unless I'm playing a big like IDP league. Then those leagues I usually put at least 10 spots because I'm in a league where I just had to fight to get 3 IR spots this year, and I already have 7 guys on IR, and almost all of them are defensive guys, and they're young studs that I just don't want to drop. So
Right.
my thing is, especially in Dynasty, you don't want to get to the point where people are dropping good players because they have to
Yes,
find
you
a
do.
starting lineup. Now,
That's how you-
I hate that. But that's just me. I want to be able to hold on to a guy without dropping somebody to pick up a defensive tackle or like a 5th string wide receiver because I need to fill a starting lineup. I just don't like that. I'd rather have the spot where those guys can move those guys over somewhere.
So you'd rather have where everybody else has 30 players and you have 45 in your team is what you're saying, right? You like cheating.
I hope I don't have
Right.
45. I hope I don't have that many injuries. But if I do have that many guys injured, I want to be able to sit those guys or figure out guys to trade. So
No, they got to be IR or what's the other one? What's the other designation besides IR that
well, they have IR,
pup.
they have doubt, the pup. I always
just-
let pup on there. I actually
Yeah,
let
IR,
suspended
pup.
play. I let suspended players on mine as well.
Yeah, I don't allow suspended players. If your guy's suspended, you got to eat that spot.
Yeah, that's the way out should be the same way. Being out for 1 week because of whatever, that's crap. That's cheating. That just gives you that's such a crap because you can leave that guy on there for 2-3 weeks, whatever, and it's like you got to suffer through those kind of things, man. It's a 30-man roster, not a 45-man.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about 15 extra roster spots. You're cheating. Like so,
Yeah,
you always
but-
have you're the guy who always had one roster spot open all the time, so you could just import all the guys last minute that are out, right, and put them on the IR.
Yeah, and another thing too,
I
is
knew it.
some of those guys that are out are literally genuinely like out for a couple weeks, but the team
Yep.
doesn't IR them. So like I should be able to get somebody free on that spot as well, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Because again, the way the IR spots works is, for the league, you got to sit out 6 weeks if you're putting your guy on IR. So a lot of guys have guys out 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They're not putting them on IR, but they're
Like
out.
Dak.
You know they're not playing. They're not playing. So my point is like, it's just not a last second tweak. Like, oh, okay, well he didn't play this week. I'm like, some of these guys you absolutely know. And here's my other thing is, there's still guys that we know are going on IR that if you look at fantasy leagues are not on IR yet. They're out. They're listed as out, but they're not officially on IR yet. So why am I not being able to pick up a guy for a Breece Hall, even though he's listed as out, not IR? Why am I not be able to move him to my IR and pick up a guy now, knowing that he's definitely done for the season, but just because they haven't put him on IR officially yet, I don't get to move him to the out. That's my biggest problem with it. That's why I let out guys go on IR.
So you get Elijah Moore, who has a temper tantrum, and he's out and listed as out, and you can put him on your IR, even though it's his own fault. He should have been suspended or some kind of that's crap. He's not hurt.
That was an iffy one. That's an iffy one. Yeah. They counted him out, but they didn't put him with an injury.
Come on.
They didn't put him out with an injury designation. So that's the difference sometimes.
Trade deadline.
Feelings matter, John.
Yeah, not for me. I like winning. That's all I care about. Okay. So Dynasty. Do you ever have a trade deadline in your Dynasty leagues?
I usually prefer it, yes, and I usually do it right up until the Sunday before the playoff week starts. So like whatever, I think it's week 15 now is usually where playoffs start. So right up before that, those Sunday kickoff of that game is usually when I like to have the Dynasty trade deadline. I know my partner Scott, he doesn't like having any Dynasty trade deadline at all. You should be able to trade even through the playoffs. But I absolutely hate it when teams that aren't in it are trading their stud players to a playoff team. it absolutely drives me bonkers seeing that kind of stuff. So
That's
I
when
I like having trade deadlines for
that's
sure.
when the best trades are made, when somebody's in desperation mode and they'll say, "Fine, I'll give you this year's first, next year's first and second, whatever you want for this guy because I'm in win right now." That's where the
Right.
rebuilding teams make their hay. You got to
Yeah.
get them by the short and curlies, man. That's when you got to do it. It's
I
Yeah.
agree with them. You got to have that. You got to have that trade deadline at the playoffs.
what?
I don't mind the rest
Yeah.
of the time, but dude,
Yeah.
I have had so many leagues almost go under on the fights that happen with some of these
Yeah.
playoff trades. Plus, here's another one that's really gotten under my skin. I have a couple leagues that you can trade all the way up to the championship game, and you know what happens? I've seen a ton of guys go in to win it that barely made the playoffs start making crazy trades because they barely got in. They have a shot to win it, and guess what they do next year? They drop out and orphan their team because they
Yep.
just unloaded everyone to win it that year and get the money and drop out. That's why I don't like that type of move, just because I've seen way too many shady things happen in the playoffs, and I've just seen too many people drop out or have major issues once it comes to playoffs on stuff like that. So I'm all for trading all the time, but I think once the playoffs hit, you got to let teams play through the playoffs, and then you can make every trade you want after that. But I think those couple weeks of the playoffs, you shouldn't be making trades and offers and moves there.
The problem here is I play in nothing but home leagues. So you guys are talking about people dropping out. You never see them taking their money and running. That doesn't happen in home leagues. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's so. I guess I'm looking at dynasty through a different lens. I mean, we're making trades on Easter Sunday when there's been nothing going. It's 2 months after the Super Bowl. Like their trade deadline never stops. Though we do have we do have 1 week after the Super Bowl's over with. That's when we have the waiver wire stop.
Mhm.
Yeah. I always have my waivers. I always have my waiver wire stop at the end of the season up until the rookie draft, and then I'll open them again. But I always give people that little bit of time trying to figure out what they're going to do rookie wise, do all that, then jump in on waiver wires. I don't like when people can just waiver wire the whole time because you see a lot of crazy stuff happening before the rookie draft even happens. Then.
Right. Yeah. My leagues, I like having it just those 3 weeks, week 15 to 17. The trade deadline's off, and those are the only 3 weeks out the entire season, the entire year, calendar year, where the trade deadline is on. And then I like waivers we do in the off season. We just have it. We do it every Wednesday, but there's no like first come first serve. After
Mhm.
that, it's just every single Wednesday. They run like normal during the off season, and that's the only time they run. Just that one time during the week. So that's kind of how we do it with our leagues.
Yep, that's exactly how I do it in my commission leagues. Every Wednesday, that's the only time you can pick them up. I don't do waivers until the rookie draft's over. Once the rookie draft's over, I do it every Wednesday after that through the whole season and do it
Yep.
that way as well.
Yep.
That's I think that uh, in home leagues, I mean, it's people take it seriously, but it's not. We're not in 500 million of them, stuff like that, and everybody needs a break.
Yeah.
Everybody I know, they're all cops, firemen. They got kids in sports, this and that. So we let a week after a week after the Super Bowl's over with, is the actual NFL Super Bowl's over with. So the middle of February, that kind of deal. That's when a week after that we stop. The waiver wire stops then, and then we get down to a situation where all the way through the whole entire offseason. You could trade, but there's no more transactions allowed. And then we have a rookie draft, probably about a month after the actual NFL draft. And then 2 weeks after that, or about 3 weeks after that, we have a cut down to 30-man rosters. And nobody on your IR, 30-man total, all together. Like you have to clean everything out besides 30 people. And then 2 weeks after that, we start free agency back up. So it gives everybody a nice little break to walk away and not be overwhelmed, because some people are like, leave the waiver wire open. Like I want it on daily waiver wire. Well, it's different for you when you're not a cop or a fireman or
Yeah.
something like that going on.
Yeah.
You're sitting in front of an office all the time. It's not fair to everybody else. I get the once a week waiver wire thing, kind of stuff like that. But even then, it just happens to be on Wednesday morning, something happened. That's when your waiver wire runs. And this guy's, arresting people or putting out a fire or something. He can't see the news. It's kind of unfair to everybody. So
Yeah, I got a league that's my big money home league, and a couple of my guys asked like, "Hey man, can we get just a little break during the summer?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So we'll do the rookie draft as soon as we possibly can after the regular draft, usually within a couple weeks, and then we'll take the whole summer off, and then I'll open waivers up in August. Like right on the last couple preseason games, when guys kind of have an idea who's doing what, and I've done that in a couple leagues where guys said, "Hey man, can we just do that? Can we just like start it up in August again?" I'm like, "Yep." So I've done that where we take like June, July off, And so
Yeah.
I think you definitely can adjust for leagues. Home leagues, I definitely do that a little more than I am for leagues that are like a bunch of people all over the place.
Yeah. Two more questions, real fast. As if you're a commissioner, how do you deal with inactive owners, guys who are in way too many leagues? They never look at trades. They don't respond to nothing. This isn't your league is not their priority. Obviously, they don't care. How many warnings you give to somebody before you kind of say, "Hey, man, I'd like to get somebody in who actually cares about the league." Like, or you just kind of say, "Hey, people are busy. It is what it is."
Yeah, I mean, people are, obviously going to be busy with life and stuff. Some people are in way too many leagues, obviously. As long as they paid, and they're in there to do it. I kind of look at them as a donation. They're probably not going to win, so thanks for the donation, pretty much. But if they're going to make trades and trade their future draft picks, I'm on them. Hey, you're gonna pay your league dues for the next year.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it within a couple days or talk to me about when you can pay them, I just go in the MFL and lock your team out and you can't do anything. So until you pay. So that's kind of how I usually deal with it. I'm kind of the take no bullshit kind of from owner commissioner. So if you, do that kind of stuff, I'll just get rid of you and find somebody else.
How much grief do you take from somebody before you give them the boot?
Um, like I said, I'm just kind of a no nonsense kind of guy. If you're just gonna give me bullshit all the time, I'm happy to remove you and move on. I'm always like that. So
All right. It takes a lot for me to get rid of somebody, but
yeah, I
I'm the
try
same way.
not
I
to,
try to
but
either. Yeah.
yeah, I try not to. I haven't run into too many of that. Like I get some inactive owners. Like I send some trade offers to this guy. It's been in his inbox for 5 days. I got to go in. Most of ours are on Discord or Group Me, and I got to tag them. Like, hey, I sent you an offer. They still don't respond to the damn thing. So there's a bunch of owners in leagues that I have like that.
Here's the thing I think that Sleeper needs to jump on, and then MFL will never do it, but Sleeper could do it. There needs to be I'm thinking about this trade button, and then gives you like 24 or 36 hours where it re-ups and hits you again. Hey, what do you think about this trade? Because there's a million times I see a trade offer right when I'm doing a million other things. I'm at work, I'm doing something else, and I'm like, I mean, rarely is it a split second decision. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want to do that trade, or I definitely don't want to do that trade. You see, you get some of those that are garbage. You do it right away. There's times I'm like, hey, I really need to look through my lineup, this guy's lineup, make some thought process, do this, and then I want it to be able to say like, hey, guy, I saw your offer. I definitely am not ignoring you, but I'm right in the middle of a bunch of shit and I
Right.
need to kind of think this over and look through some stuff. So I really wish there would be some kind of add-on button that says trade acknowledged, thinking it over, and it gives you like a 24 or 36 hour like window before it re-hits you up and says boop boop trade sitting there like what are you gonna do
Right.
because like people like that me that would help a ton because there's days where I have my day off on like a Monday. If you send me trade offers, I'll send you 3 hours straight back of trade offers back and forth back and forth back and forth. If you hit me up on any time on a weekend I'm working, I'm probably going to either say I saw it, I'm thinking about it, or not answer you at all until I get at least 4 or 5 days to like get to where I have a day to do it. So that's the only thing I don't like about that because I hate making people feel like I'm ignoring them, even though I saw the offer. I just haven't had a chance to think about a counter or anything like that.
that's interesting. I never thought about that, but I just always took for granted that I see the little yellow notification on the top of the thing when I'm going through my lineups, and I go through them. I'm on Sleeper at least once a day, seeing what I got coming in, what I got going out, who responded to stuff, who rejected my trades, that kind of stuff. So I guess I'm a little more like I have a lot more time than a lot of people too. I don't manage a restaurant or
Well,
Right,
it's like
right.
I said, I see those trades. The issue is whether I have the 30 minutes to an hour to like figure out a counter offer or what I want to offer or what they have.
Yeah.
That's the only issue for me because I hate getting into a trade negotiation with someone where we're kind of sending stuff back and forth. And then all of a sudden I just don't answer for 3 hours and they're like, whoa, I thought we were talking about this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got busy and I'm gone. So
Right.
I hate doing that. So that's why I'd rather be like, hey man, I'd love to get back to you. I'm definitely considering this trade. Let me hit you up when I know I've got like a decent amount of time to like banter with you back
Yeah.
and forth about counters. That's all I'm saying because I always feel bad when I leave people hanging because they're like, this guy isn't answering me. And I'm like, I want to, I just haven't had time to even think about whether that trade. And I always hate to go in and just go, well, I don't have time, decline. I just don't want to do that.
I'm going to write Sleeper about that. That's a good idea. They're pretty receptive with some of that kind of stuff.
And I just think that's something that with the way they've done their stuff, I think they could easily do because they have those expiring trades.
Yes.
Where like, oh, what's the trade at this amount of time? Boom, it expires and just automatically is gone. I think having a little right before it expires or like, hey, counter, accept, decline, considering it button would be really nice. Just a consider button and like whatever time they want to do, 24 hours, 36 hours. Hey, give me 24 hours or 36 hours to consider this. And after that point, if I haven't, responded, then you say, okay, trades up or it automatically becomes a decline or whatever.
Yeah. You're reversing
that would be pretty cool.
You're reversing the clock. That is super cool. Like I people always say like, what, these are so stupid. Why would you put a time bomb on there? Say where your trade's gonna expire. It's to protect me. Because I don't want I don't want my trade being sitting out there and all of a sudden Sunday morning, I had a really good trade out there and somebody's somebody's out for the season now. And somebody goes, oh yeah, remember that trade? Accept it. Now all of a sudden I got screwed on a Brees Hall or something, because exactly like that kind of
stuff. I'm bad about putting the timer on my trades. I just put them up there forever. But I've also noticed I've noticed that anxiety. I've thought about it. I'm like, dude, I should have probably put a timer on that. Like something could totally change in the next 5 days to 3 weeks that this trade maybe be sitting out there. I should probably put a timer on that. So I do like that idea, the timer clock on those things.
I do 24 hours on every one of them unless I want something done like ASAP or a bunch of stuff going out that I'll put end of the day. But every trade, there's not a trade I put out there without a timer on it. So, all right, we're gonna switch to some trades. We got 2 more parts of the show here. We're gonna White and McGlynn home league trades. These are all trades that happened in my home league in the last couple weeks. These are 12-team Dynasty Superflex, PPR, tight end premium, 0.75, 12 starters, or that's 10 starters actually, 20 bench players. There are no position limits. Pretty much normal scoring with bonuses for long plays. So this year, a couple weeks ago, Ramondre Stevenson for a 2024 first. What do you think? Which side of that would you take?
I recently actually just did this same exact trade in another league, and I got the 2024 first. So I would take the 2024 first personally.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I go 2024 first. If I'm somebody that's like, dude, I'm a running back away. I literally don't have a second RB2, and I am pushing for a title. This is early in the season for this, but I could see somebody making that move because they're like, dude, I gotta have an RB2. Obviously, the problem is it's early. If he gets hurt in the next 2 weeks, you're totally screwed anyway. I would rather see this move 3 weeks down the road. If I'm a contender, can I make this trade, a little closer to playoffs? But I understand sometimes you got to jump on it before somebody else. But I would take the first over Stevenson if it was me.
I have Josh Jacobs and Ramondre Stevenson as my backfield mates, and I'm like, if I move one, I got to move both because my team's useless without either one of them. So
that's the spot I'm telling about. If he's your RB2 and you're clear cut and you got to have him, then maybe I'd keep Stevenson. But like I said, this is we talked about with Jacobs. Hey, if you get where you're not in it here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, your team starts falling apart. Then you maybe, hey, if you could get 2 firsts or a first and a second for those 2 guys, I might be jumping on that.
Dameon Pierce for 224 mid-seconds.
I think if Ramondre's worth the 2024 first, Dameon Pierce should be worth the 2024 first too. So I would take Pierce.
I've got Pierce in a couple leagues, and if I took people would be jumping at me, throwing me every offer for a second. I think you at this point you almost got to get a first. It's probably going to be a late first, but you got to get a first for Dameon Pierce at this point.
Jared Goff for a 24 second and a 24 third, both mid.
I would take the draft picks personally. I'm just not a Goff fan. I think he's going to be replaced here soon. So I
exactly. I agree with you 100%. Unless you're desperate for that second QB, say your team's killing it and your second QB got hurt and you didn't have a third, then I make that trade for Goff, which I've done in a couple leagues that I'm a win now. I've had to make trades like this that I just killing myself later because I needed a second QB in a super flex. But that's the only way I'm making this move. I might be the one guy out there, but I think third round picks are underrated. I think people think they're just throwaway picks, and I've gotten so many great players in the third round. I just think if I could get a second or third round pick, I think I could get something decent with those guys.
Yeah. Tight end premium trade again, like we mentioned, Tyler Conklin, Jeff Wilson, and Trevor Lawrence. So Conklin, Jeff Wilson, who's almost useless now, and Trevor Lawrence in a super flex for Russell Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, and Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, so I'm guessing the team that's getting Wilson, Hopkins, and Fournette's going for it because that's the only way I want those guys if I'm going for it this year, and I'll just deal with it later. Um, yeah, Tyler Conklin has really fallen off with Zach Wilson getting in there. Jeff Wilson's obviously kind of just a backup now. I think Lawrence I would prefer over Russell Wilson in Dynasty, but is it worth Hopkins and Fournette? I
No.
don't know. I would probably take the Wilson, Hopkins, Fournette side and hope I'm going for it, going for the win.
Yeah.
I'd lean that side as well. Even though I like T Law a lot, you're
Right.
basically getting T Law on 2-0
Yeah.
there, so that
Yeah.
hurts.
This that was right obviously before the CMC trade, so this guy kind of got the shaft, the high hard one across the board on this one. So 23 and 24 first for CMC and Chuba Hubbard.
I'm taking the 2 first side easy.
Yeah, they're. I mean, they're probably going to be a number 11, number 12. This guy is going for it right now. He's already got a really good stack team, so he had no problem giving away his 23 and 24 for CMC. So you're looking at pick 12 and 24 for CMC and Chuba Hubbard.
I've made that. I made that move a couple times this year on teams I was all in on. I was looking to win. I've been in the mix for a number of years, and I was one big scoring running back away. I gave up 2 firsts or a first and a second for CMC. I think if you're win now, it's worth a shot. Definitely at it. If I'm a team that's winning, I'm trading CMC for those first. But I still think CMC has high upside. I know he's been banged up a little bit, but he's one of those guys I could see playing till early 30s and still being good. I think he still's got good years left.
This trade was made by a guy who is not in it, and he thinks he is. But he traded Hollywood. One of these guys who, yeah, he's probably one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in the league. He traded for Hollywood Brown and gave away 24 first, second, and third, and his team's terrible. Like, he's probably going to be. We have a draft lottery in my leagues where you can't just tank. You know, you can't tank and get into 101. Everything goes into a basketball style lottery. Picks 1 to 6 of the first round. So even though you may have, it goes by max points for on the sleeper app. So whoever has the least amount of max points for gets 40 balls. The second least amounts gets 25, and then 12 and 15, 12, 10, 7, that kind of stuff. So he has no guarantee for anything. But I mean, these are probably lottery picks across the board. And as soon as he made this trade, Hollywood Brown got hurt that day. Like, so it was like insult to injury on top of anything, you know.
Yeah, easy taking the picks there.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. John, a quick little thing. I know I brought this up before. People always ask me about what I do on the first pick. So a couple of my leagues, I like to do a 4-team tournament of the teams that don't make the playoffs. Whoever wins that tournament gets the number 1 pick. So it's not a guaranteed tank. But then whoever is the absolute worst team, we go reverse record for rounds 2 through 7. So if you're the worst team, you automatically get the first pick in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth round. But the top 4 picks is basically a head-to-head tournament to see who wins to get it. So I do that to prevent taking 100% in one of my leagues. People ask me that question all the time: how I prevent the tank.
Yeah, all of our home leagues to keep that shit bowl relevant. You get whoever wins the shit bowl gets pick 113. So
Yeah.
it's.
I'm in a league like that, which I actually think that's a really cool move. I'm in one league that actually was huge for me this year. Getting that 113 just totally changed my draft. It was pretty nice.
Yeah, we usually have the last 6 that didn't make the playoffs in a 12-team league. They're all in the tournament. The worst record and second worst record, those are the ones who get the buys for the first round of the toilet bowl there. So they're guaranteed into at least being the 104 at the worst.
Yeah,
so it actually prevents tanking a little bit too. Like, you can't be completely awful. You got to win your way to the 101 pick. You got to win 2 rounds there. So you can't completely tank if you want that 101. Otherwise, if you completely tank, you're just going to be the 104.
Yeah, I like that move too. That's how I have it. Like, if you're the worst possible team record-wise, the worst you can get is the 1-4 pick. Is how I have it set up. So worst is 1-4, but you got to earn it. And again, part of that for me is like, hey, you can't just start sitting guys for no reason and then just unloading your whole team to where, okay, well, I got the 1-1, but now my team's awful because I got rid of every last asset I had to try to get the 1-1, which, you hopefully you wouldn't have guys in your league that do that. But I feel like every league has one or two guys that would make that mistake and do that. So, yeah, I like those anti-tanking measures anytime I can get them.
Corey Davis for Eno Benjamin in a PPR.
I'll take Eno Benjamin there. Corey Davis is just like a flex play at best for me.
Yeah, to me, it's roster specific. I mean, if I needed a wideout, I'd take Corey Davis. If I needed a running back, I'd take Benjamin. If I'm going, it's best player, I'd probably take Benjamin.
Decaf Metcalf or Garrett Wilson. Both teams are kind of about the same. They just like the players better. Which one do you think is a better long-term pick?
Yeah, this is pretty fair for me. They're probably pretty close in my rankings. I think I would lean DK just because Garrett Wilson's quarterback was Zach Wilson. Like, they're just not throwing the ball. At least I know DK, they're throwing the ball a little bit. Gino's looking pretty good. I'm betting he's going to probably get a contract extension here at some point, so I'm going to go with DK.
Yeah, I think that's total preference. I mean, I could totally see going Garrett Wilson if you're a guy who's a Wilson guy you think's going to get a shot to blow up here soon. I think that's even as you can get.
This one baffled us just a couple days ago. Miles Sanders in an early 23 second for Jameson Williams.
Like the person who traded Miles, are they out of it?
The person who traded Miles they're one of the top 3 or 4 teams.
Top 1, 3, 4. Okay.
They gave away a late, I guess, an early second because it was traded from somebody else. So it was probably somebody else's. One of the other teams not that good. I'd say like maybe pick 17 or 18, something like that. Miles Sanders and pick 18 for Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I really like Jameson Williams. He was my second wide receiver in this class, so I think I would kind of lean towards the Jameson Williams side on this one, which would kind of probably be surprising to you guys. I just don't think I think Miles Sanders would be all right for this year, but he's a free agent. I don't know if they bring him back. That's kind of like one of those teams. I don't think they value the running back all that much. So
I'm in agreement with you on this one. Yep, I take the James Williams side. I think it's a really even trade. You know, you're going to take an early second and throw Miles Sanders on top of it. I like it. If I'm a contender, I take Miles Sanders. Or like I said, if I'm a contender who doesn't need Miles Sanders and I'm looking to get young, get a stud James Williams, I feel like that's a nice move. I think it's even Steven trade, but I would go Williams side.
Yeah, I'm looking at it as 2 seconds for Jameson Williams, basically.
Yep.
Oh, I don't like Miles Sanders at all. And I'm like, man, how Jameson Williams would have been, if he didn't get hurt, he would have been a top 4 pick in his rookie draft. So he fell and he fell.
Right.
And he's still number 7 or 6 or 7 or 8. I mean, in some leagues he went to the early second round if he kind of went that long. But I'm just thinking long term, what does Miles Sanders got left? I mean, I know he's only, 24, just turned 25 or something like that. So, and early 23 or mid to early 23 second. I mean, you're not going to get, I don't think you're going to get Jameson Williams type talent in the middle of the second round. Like I don't know.
Yeah, here's my thing is I think that's because he sat this long and hasn't played yet, he's getting top value for Jameson Williams. I don't think you get that trade done 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago. I think you get it done now because Eagles are looking good. Miles Sanders is looking solid on a team that's running the ball quite a bit. And it's an early second. I think it's a fairly even trade, but I think, I think you say 2 months ago, this is a 100% home run, Jameson Williams smash. So I think whoever made that move, I just wisely hit it at the right time.
Yeah, the guy's in like complete rebuild mode that got Jameson Williams, so it worked out perfect for him.
Yep.
So.
Oh yeah.
Tom Brady and Donovan Peoples-Jones for a 24 mid to late 24 second. Just from the rebuilding time. I mean, I don't know. The guys can win now who needed Tom Brady, obviously, but this was probably a week and a half old, and Tom Brady has completely bit the dog since then.
Yeah, so it's Brady for the receiver and the pick is how you have it written. Right?
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Tom Brady for DPJ and at the mid second.
Yeah, I'm out of it, or I'm like a middling team, and Tom Brady's not helping me win it. I want to tank a little bit. Totally fine with just taking a second for him, and you get a pretty decent receiver who still has a lot of upside. I think once Deshaun Watson comes back, Peoples-Jones could be one of his favorite targets. He's a really athletic receiver. He's actually come on the last couple of weeks with Brissett too. So I like the DPJ in the second side for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a fair trade. I mean, I think it's pretty even down the board. I mean, if you need a QB, I think that's an even trade to give up to get the QB if you need him. If I don't need Tom Brady, I'm taking the pick in Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Juju and Jacoby Myers for a 23 late second and a mid and a late 23 third.
I'll take the two receivers there pretty easy.
I'm Juju all day, every day. I'm taking Juju almost no matter what was added to that.
I just took this. This is my trade I just made this morning. So I was like, yes. I offered.
You got Juju?
I offered Juju for a second, third, and fourth, and he bumped it up to a late third instead of my early fourth. And I'm like, pfft. And he added Jacoby Myers on the backside for doing it. I'm like, what? So yes, I'm like, here we go. Smash accept. I even said, I'm like, smash accept on the text message. I'm like, here we go. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then I made this one earlier to Evan Ingram and a 23 third for Tyler Algier and Isaiah Spiller. I'm in the a lot of young players here kind of thing, and I pretty much beefed up my entire receiving core last week or so. I got DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, Juju now, Jacoby Myers, Sky Moore. Who else? I got a couple other receivers on there, so I have 6 or 7 really good receivers, and I have a couple young tight ends, and Evan Ingram is not really panning out for what everybody thought he was going to be in this offense. So Evan Ingram and a 23 mid third for Tyler Algier and Isaiah Spiller.
I think those young guys are worth the upside take on that. Algier, I mean, the Falcons look like they're going to run the ball. They're not messing around. They're going to run the ball. So he's definitely a young guy that's going to get a shot. I mean, how much does Cordell Patterson have left? Who knows? Spiller, again, everyone loved him coming out. Then didn't have the draft, the pre-draft workout everybody was hoping. Definitely a guy that's worth it for me. I take the 2 young running backs.
Yeah, I don't. I remember when Isaiah Spiller was the number 1 running back coming out. He was ranked. He was above everybody else. He was above Beast Hall. He was above everybody. And then the workout and metrics came out, and all of a sudden, he was shit. I was like, all right, so
yeah,
and he's still 21. Whatever, I'll take him.
Yeah, Ray Garvin had him number 1 until after the combine and all that came out, and he just kind of fell down a little bit. This is his first week being active too. He had 1 carry for -5 yards. Nice job, Isaiah. I've had him on so many teams, even redraft teams, just kind of waiting for him, but I've kind of given up on him for this year. I don't think they're just for some reason they're not using him and they're taking these other guys on. But I would take Algier and Spiller in this trade as well. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So those are the trades that happened in our home leagues last couple of weeks. Some are more recent than others, but I left the other ones in there today because I was kind of in a rush. So, all right. So now at the end of a real show, we're going to try and make this 10-minute situation here. We have a team evaluations every week. We pick a team from one of my home leagues and we go over it. What are the biggest needs in this team? Who are your keep trade cut guys, kind of thing. Who would you trade for to improve this team, and who would you send away to do it? Is this a rebuild or remodel? It's a 12-team dynasty, superflex, PPR, tight end premium. 0.7. Well, it's 0.5 here, but 10 starters. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver. This is one league I'm in. It's 0.5 instead of 0.75, so I changed it on that one. 3 wide receivers, tight end, 2 flexes, super flex, and 20 bench spots. No position limits. Rookie picks. He's only got a 23, 4th, and 5th, and then in 24 picks, 24 and 25, which are tradable, 1 to 5, all of his own. And this guy's pretty much in last place right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share it. Yeah, we already saw it. It's pretty funny. I mean,
I was like, oh man. Woo.
Yeah. So let me share the screen because I'm where the hell's the damn share thing at here again?
John, was he in our Superflex or not Superflex, our Scott Fishbowl?
Scott,
draft?
yeah, Steven Johnson.
I was gonna say, I recognize him. And I'm like, I know I'm in at least one league with him because I know I follow him on Twitter. So I saw that and I was like, man, I thought this team was better than that. But I was like, oh, that's definitely a different league than what I thought it was.
Where the hell is the share screen at? Anyway, oh, there it is.
I don't know if people want to look at it, John. They're trying to save you.
it's
Trying to
ugly.
save you the murderous screen.
Yeah, it's ugly.
It's pretty bad, man. It's bad.
All right, so he's got Mac Jones as quarterback, which may not be his quarterback much longer. Raheem Mostert, Nick Chubb was the shining star of his team. Alec Pierce, Curtis Samuel, Devontae Parker, Isaiah Likely is starting tight end right now. Michael Gallup, Derrick Henry, Rashad White, which I'm desperately trying to trade him for right now, but he will not give him up, even though I think I offered him a second and a third, and he said no, but I get it. I'm trying to lowball him. Baker Mayfield, Naheem Hines. That's all for quarterback wise. He's only got Baker Mayfield and Mac Jones. So,
and you're in the Superflex league, and those are your two QBs. I don't even know if you need to look at the rest of the roster. You know you're in trouble. I mean, you know you're in trouble.
He lost Javonte, so his team would have been Javonte, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb starting off. So it would have been a nice setup there. He could have maybe competed with just those running backs alone. OBJ, Nelson Aguilar, Demarcus Robinson, Cedric Wilson, David Sills, Anthony Schwartz, who I still love. Anthony Schwartz, he's an athlete. But it probably ain't gonna happen. Eric Azuma, as Kumana, you guys can say it. I'm terrible.
Azukama,
yeah. David Bell, who I love. He won't trade me David Bell either. Kyle Phillips, Danny Gray, rising star. He's just getting some time to cook a little bit. Velus Jones, CJ Who's Your Mama, Darren Waller, another good tradable asset here. Jeremy Ruckert, Chig. Everybody knows Chig from the Titans. The Titans. Jelani Woods, and he's got Brian Hoyer on the IR along with Van Jefferson, who should be traded real soon if I was him. So those are the players here. Go ahead and dice this team up. What would you do?
First thing I would do is fire up that trade calculator because you got to start trading some guys. Trading everybody. This team, you need every pick you can get over the next 3 years to turn this thing around. It's rough.
Yeah, without any picks going into this this year also, except for a fourth and a fifth, you're in big trouble with this. So you need I keep offering, this is the team I keep offering a second for Derrick Henry, and he ain't biting yet, but at some point in time he's gonna be like,
At some point he's gonna have to start looking at it. If everybody starts hitting him up with stuff, you're gonna have to take as many first seconds, whatever you can get, because this team, he's gonna sit in last place for years if he doesn't start making moves. Like I said, again, if you have some older players like a Derrick Henry, and you maybe have like a Mahomes as your one good QB in a super flex, and you got a couple older players, like you may be able to compete in a bigger league. But man, if you're, what did you say, John? Is this a 12-team league?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, 12-team league. This is disastrous. I keep like Jelani Woods, Ruckert. I keep some of my young tight ends. I'm seeing if somebody really loves Williams, Javonte, I trade him. I got a guy in one of my leagues. He's just been hounding me for Javonte all year, even if he got hurt. So if you find somebody that really loves him, I maybe move him. If you can't move him, keep him and move everybody else. But it's Alec Pierce. I'm keeping Alec Pierce. But there's not many more. I know, but there's not many more guys on this roster that I'm not looking to move.
He actually won 3 games this year. He's 3-4. The problem is he's contending, and it's the worst. It's better off if he just lost.
Yeah, you're not contending. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the problem because he doesn't even, again, like I said, if he had a couple older studs that you could maybe get a huge game out of here and there and win in a playoff, I just don't see how this team. Even so, say by a miracle they made the playoffs, there is no way this team has enough firepower to win 3 games of the playoffs and win you a title. There's just no way. Unless Derrick Henry by himself scores 100, I just don't know how this team gets enough points. Like, because they don't have enough studs. I like some of the guys he has, but you're looking at Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb scoring 1 million points. In a super flex league with Mac Jones and Baker Mayfield, one of those guys maybe, but both of those is all you got. I can't do it. So maybe I'm trying to trade like one of my running backs and get a Kenny Pickett or something, somebody that's a contender sitting on Kenny Pickett as their fourth quarterback right now or something, do I trade them and say, hey, I'll give you Nick Chubb for Kenny Pickett? I mean, something like that. But you got to, at some point, he's got to start the turnaround. Whether that, a lot of people hate to give up draft picks. So my thing is like maybe you look at like first or second year guys that haven't been awesome yet, and maybe you can trade for those guys that haven't busted out. There's a lot of work to be done.
Absolutely. I think this is a kind of an easy one that we pretty much every asset he has to trade for picks right now because none of them are young. None of them are gonna, he doesn't want to win right now. I mean, who cares? At this point in time, whoever has his draft picks are going to be, making out like a bandit anyway. So just get the picks and call it a day.
I mean, go like first guy I'd start with Neon Hines. I like Neon Hines a ton. I got him in a bunch of leagues. You can play him as a flex, second RB. Dude, he's worth a second. Go trade Neon Hines for a second. Somebody will give you a second for Neon Hines. That, especially with all the RB injuries, just scoop that up right away. Yep. Like there's a couple of these guys, or like, I mean, I know it's hard work, but you could package like a big deal. Say some team that's like, man, loaded at wideout, loaded at quarterback. Their RBs are terrible. Go make a huge deal when you gave them Chubb and Henry. Yep. And you take like a couple first, seconds, or some young players. Like maybe he's got a Garrett Wilson as his fifth wide receiver. Like go do something crazy like that where you offer like your two studs for like a bunch of his guys that are like maybe third, fourth, fifth. He doesn't totally need, even though he likes them. Maybe that's, if you can find somebody like that in your league, maybe that's a move.
Right.
Yeah. I offered, somebody's got back to me a second ago. I offered, Evan Ingram for Isaiah Pacheco, like Evan Ingram and 2 fourths for Isaiah Pacheco, which is a complete ripoff. But he just came back with me sending a 24 first for Isaiah Pacheco, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, no thanks.
So. But I mean, it's
hey, you gotta love the balls on him.
Just
like, if
I'm gonna spend a 24 first, I'm gonna go to this guy and try and get Chubb or Henry.
Right.
Exactly. I agree with that for sure.
And I traded away Chubb last year for Cortland Sutton and who's the other receiver? Cortland Sutton and another receiver right around that area. I can't remember who it was, but I'm thinking, all right, this is Chubb. I'm not going to get any points out of him. This will be his last year. He's probably going to get hurt. Then he's kind of going against him. And man, sometimes you just make stupid ass mistakes, and it's like.
Well, sometimes you're a year too early. It happens. You're like, hey, this guy might be right on that verge, and you trade him. You're like, oh man, he ended up getting like 2-3 more good years out of him. Those things happen.
Yeah, I finished early a lot. Sorry about that.
Well, I was about a year too early on Kenny Galladay. I mean, I loved Kenny Galladay on the Lions. I was moving him everywhere, and then I found out Stafford was leaving. And he was getting traded, and I was like, oh no, and it was just like, I traded a bunch of first round picks and second round picks like the next 2 years for Kenny Galladay, and I was like, and that has burned me on quite a few teams.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks for space tonight. Spending 2 hours and 6 minutes of your life talking fantasy football with me and
John. It's like it feels like 30 seconds with you, man.
Doesn't
just
it?
Hanging out, having fun, man.
The best 2 hours and 6 minutes of your entire life, right?
That's for sure.
So I appreciate it, man. You guys got so much better things to do, but this is what I do. This is what I love to do, talking fantasy football. It's I consider this a fun show. That's what it's all about, having a good time, getting to know awesome people like you guys in the fantasy football community. So JT, see yourself out. See where can everybody find you at again?
Yeah, I'm always on Twitter at JT Orange. Doing everything. Like I play in every type of league, so hit me up with any kind of trade questions or anything like that. I play IDP, I play C2C. I've been following a lot of C2C guys, like getting really big into that this year because I'm a big college football fan. So that's something I definitely want to get more into over time. So I've been really trying to hit people up and follow people online on that. But yeah, just at JT Orange is where you find me on Twitter.
Eric, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you at, what's going on, what you got coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, you can find me at Eric Vanek NFL on Twitter. My show comes out on Saturdays on the Destination Devy Radio Network at America's Game Pod. You can find it there. I usually post every Saturday morning with a link to the show. So yeah, just check me out there. Destination Devy's got a lot of good things going on. So yeah, just check out Destination Devy. Join the Patreon over there. You get a good group of guys over there. You find all kinds of good info. So I appreciate it if you hop over there.
Yeah, if you're a C2C guy, you're a college guy. I follow their stuff all the time. I watch a bunch of their YouTube videos. I'm on all those guys' Twitter pages all the time, looking at. They got great info. Whether you're just playing Devy, just trying to find guys that are going to be the next big guy in the first round of your rookie draft, or if you actually played the college side too, we were playing college players into Devy. They got a lot of good info on that stuff. I follow that stuff all the time.
I subscribe to it. I'm terrible. I went to about 5 Notre Dame games every year my entire life, and I know nothing but Notre Dame. But I'm starting to like college football. I'm in a league with like Jeff Bell and Christian Williams and all those guys. So it's like Murderers Row in that league. It's everybody that's on the Debbie Delight or whatever. What's the show they got? I forgot the name of that show they got. The Debbie shit. Anyway, they got a show together, and Dave. These guys they pretty much do Debbie, and I'm in here as a starter, and they're just killing me right now. So it is what it is.
I got a C2C question coming up for you. I'll Twitter you after the show. I got a start sit QB question for you.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for joining in, and I really appreciate it. This is the Commissioner Evaluation Show. I am John McGlynn, and thank you for spending time with us. Appreciate it.